tonight. Today was Yud Aleph. Tonight is Yud Beis. So today is Yud Aleph. Yud Aleph Tammuz tonight is Yud Beis Tammuz, the Gimel Tammuz, which is Beis, a special Yontif. I'd like to read, with your permission, what it says in Ayem Yom. It says Yom legislature, the day that the Frierdiker Rebbe, Sitzl Baruch Rebbe, was born. Letters Yom Bon Yitzvasa, Shuchashim Yerusa Sherelo, Rabbi Yosef Bechizek Acher Yadas. The day that it was freed, it was in Fasa. Actually, it wasn't free that day. It was free with Gimel, and it was told that it was a Chodeh in Russia.
English.
Yeah.
English.
So there was a August that he couldn't free him that day, but he was told he was going to be free the next day. But I'd like to just focus on what I know. I'm not saying every word. That is the day that during these days of Vengeance, the flavor, the bracha, the gashmis, the ruchnis, good, brachas, gashmis, the ruchnis. That makes a video where they say, wait, the events of the American Rabbi, the Ben of Rubashkin, the bracha, that just like the shade that the outer level established in having yes, but there's about this. What do you think about the Vengeance? Is Svadu Anash.org is so strengthen the shiurim of learning. And afterwards, he sends the bracha that Hashem should release upon him besides the dashes of the place. But the kud that takes from this, this letter, which comes from a letter from Frierdiker Rebbe, is that the kud of the funding should be to make sure to father should be limit. I guess like Niglas, like Exodus. I just want to mention there's a Exodus share Thursday night here, and there was a Siddur in Elder Shul too, for the competition. And what did you do? That's the Siddur. Right. But all year round, we also have a Siddur with Sundays, and it's hope to be Monticello he goes away soon. And so that's one of the Shurim, and those who can't come should make sure to establish and strengthen their own Shurim. Yud Beis Gimel Tammuz was Zeicher that the Frierdiker Rebbe wrote over in his Yomah. He wrote over the detail, all the problem that happened in the time. Actually, I think the day he had more. The time that he was brought into prison. That's one of Siddur until the day that he.
It's not clear. Whoever's running this thing, make it a little closer.
I should be fine. Okay. So till the days of the Beis in Tammuz. Then you see in the Yaman something fascinating. When the Frierdiker Rebbe afterwards came to America, went to other places, Israel, people heralded him as he was, a Nish Mesiras Nefesh. And it wasn't Mesiras Nefesh in theory, it was Mesiras Nefesh B'Payel. One of the stories that in an earlier time, before the Tesla of Sivin, there was one time the KGB took the Frierdiker Rebbe out, came to shul, he was davening, and they wanted to scare him because the Frierdiker Rebbe had a whole establishment, a whole network of people who were of Hadarim, Mikvois, shuls, everything they needed in each city. There are different people who were Forshtayers, and they realized that the source of the network was the Frierdiker Rebbe. So they came to him in the middle of davening and they wanted to scare him, threaten him. And the Frierdiker Rebbe said he's in the middle of davening, he's not going. Realized whom he's talking to. Eventually they waited. After davening, they took him outside and they took a revolver, they put it to his forehead. It wasn't a theoretical revolver, it was a revolver that had bullets in it, and everyone knew that they weren't scared to use it. And they told the Frierdiker Rebbe that this little toy influenced many people, told them to speak and influenced many people. Frierdiker Rebbe says this toy is only effective. He said it while the gun was at his head. Picture. This little toy is effective for people who have many gods and one world. I have one God and many worlds. And to me, it doesn't affect. But that's the gisha. That was the approach that the Frierdiker Rebbe took towards all those that are menagdim. Frierdiker Rebbe said about himself later when he went to Kasrama. Frierdiker Rebbe said that Yehi Hashem Elokeinu Imanu Kasher Hoyim Aviseinu Yizveinu Hoyitcheinu. He stood up. The reason he was put in prison was because of chizuk of chinuch of the children, making sure they go to Chedorim. So he got up and he said, even though that's exactly the reason that he was there, he said he tried to give people the chizuk to continue not spending, to continue sending the children to chinuch hakasha. And he said, even though we're not as great as our parents, because our parents were Bali Mesiras Nefesh B'Poyel, that's what he said about Zavis HaKadoshim. But we're apparently saying we're not, even though none of us understand what that means. We're looking for Ish Mesiras Nefesh, we're looking at the Frierdiker Rebbe. But that's what he said at that time. So one of the things I think that stand out is that when the Frierdiker Rebbe was brought into Tfisa, it was the middle of the night. He was brought into Tfisa, and the whole approach was to scare him. And the whole approach was to say that it has to be this way and that way, and this is what you have to do, and you're not free, you're an also, you have to follow the rules and everything like that. And one of the things that Frierdiker Rebbe got before he left his house was the ability to take along his talis and tefillin, and he was promised to be able to wear his talis and tefillin. And as he's walking in and he realizes they had people with guns all over, he says, why do they have guns? None of us are going to start up. Everyone is. In the middle, as he's walking, instead of going the way they told him to go, he took a turn. And he went into a hall. And he's there in the hall. He said he sat down, he thanked Hashem for the fact that he went out. And he wanted to prepare himself for what's going on. And one of the things he was machlet then was that whatever they're going to say, it's not going to fail kiyuza. And if you follow the Rishimis, if you read what the Frierdiker Rebbe said, they asked him questions, they try to tell him, and he says, I'm not going to fill out your shalom, I have to fill out something. I'm not going to fill it out. He says, everyone knows who I am. You brought me here to Tfisa. You know my name. You know what I do. What are you telling me to write down? And then he says, you have to fill out what do you believe. I'm not involved in politics. I don't believe in anything. You want to write down, you can write down. And actually, the one who was supposed to there didn't know what to do with him, had to bring in the people on top. But you see, his approach was that b'chlal not to rechen sich with any of the menagdim. If you follow the story of Shlom Mordechai, I spoke to him today about it, but I was sure that what the guidelines, what the hadracha, how to, sad to say, that's what we need for hadracha. But the hadracha, how to deal with being in a prison, I'm sure a lot of it came from the Shemus of the Frierdiker Rebbe. So I think it's appropriate on Beis Tammuz, the Beis Gimel Tammuz, the day of Chag HaGeula, to invite Shlom Mordechai. Actually, I think we were in the same class in yeshiva, and Yiddish.
Speaking English is good. Yeah, English.
Mishnah, this is Yiddish.
Redet nach Englisch, wir fahren nach Englisch. Was ist Englisch, ja? Sagt nicht, Jiddisch ist besser. Mach ein bisschen ein Tag, the latest Tag, Beis Tammuz. And not a little bit, but obviously, everybody in the stories of the students that was written, that everybody had to written, but how he went through the prison, that everybody, not that because everybody is in a physical prison, but everybody has a prison for the Yitzhahara. The Yitzhahara is for Sparla mentioned, and Reichslappen and Agolus. And when all these lessons is nicht nur so place for prison begashli is, but also a place called freedom. When I came, when Russian Leibster freed me, I came to a place called freedom. And there's a lot of people in a place called freedom also, if in Trisa. So, okay, so where do we begin? I want to share with you a personal myself. This Wednesday, ich werde abstellen. My so the scene was interesting because we're talking about that Ayat was in Russia, and the Yidden have durchgemacht a gold Russia. My own family, my Eden is the Judas Altsman, Hassan got with my Tochter Baruch Hashem. While I was in prison, he came to see his Chutten in the living room, wearing uniform pajamas and Baruch Hassan got. And you had Engel and then this thing would come up. So I came to the adoption. It was Wednesday, mitzvah, and I was watching. He's speaking to. He's giving over. He's making a side with the whole. Lost the prayers, Ayamaka, and by the table is sitting over there his father and his Zayda. So you have Zayda is Chazan Zalsman, Chabel Zalsman, Chazan, and I was adopting Baruch Hashem as the young. And his son Yoshi is not from Toronto. Toronto, yes, Toronto. And my Eden Yuda is telling his son, there's four generations there. 4 generations. I knew it, but you don't have to until you see it. And the Zok sein Kind, the Dr. Ayamike, and he's trying to remind him, Mr. Nefesh, that this Mendel is Zayde, my Bechutten, had as a child when he was in Russia in Samarkand. Everybody knows there's a book of Sefer called Samarkand. He was one of them, this Zaltzman. And then he mentioned the stories by me, by my Yamkin sisters, in a place called America. And the Weiler, come to raid. So will er zum Kind und will man eher sein beim Kind, the Kind should can again the So later, so we sat down to talk. It turns out that this Yossi, my Mechutten, was locked in, not in jail, but it was in jail. He was locked in his house for 6 years. He left Russia when he was 15. And because his father did not want him to go to communist education, he didn't want to contaminate his son with the communistische Gedanken, with Führer. He didn't want his son to go to public school. So other Eden were there, never was they told sent. And he took the Mercedes Nefesh and he kept his son in the house, in the room without any windows. What could it be? A basement. I didn't ask. And I was able to give he was there for 6 years. 6 years. So I'm sitting listening to this. I said to my Chut, wow, you had an abusive childhood. You weren't traumatized. I said, a normal looking guy. He wasn't. And then I turned to his father, Beryl. He says, boy, you're an abusive father. I said, he starts laughing. He says he was speaking in England, in England, he was speaking, and he was speaking about the Mercedes Nefesh. He had to be a Yid. Remember, this is the 1950s, yeah? 1960s, yeah? So the Rayats, with the story tonight, it will be something happened in 1927. But Ibig lost Yidden in Rusland, what was Forshet, Mason, Nefesh, it wasn't they. Also in Baruch Hashem in America, then there's the Soyin is Afashida. So there was Mamish as even So I turned to him, I said, well, what kind of business? So he spoke to I was saying as a joke. I want to bring something out. Because get back cook. How is it possible? 2 things. The child didn't feel at loss. I can't. He didn't feel he was traumatized. He didn't feel that his father gave him a terrible childhood. He's not angry. He said he was speaking to a girls' school in England, and the Gerat, always bringing the Mrs. And then one of the students picks up a hand and will listen. What's the question? You weren't angry at your father? Americans come nice. You weren't angry at your father for doing that to you? He starts laughing at that.
Ich habe gemeint, als Avram Avinu was a Belmes in Nefesh, and Ephesus Nefesh. No, was after the this next, because sellers of the son of Avram Avinu. So as you have that, and the father had a whole. He tells me he had a whole fight with one of his friends. I'm saying names, and his friend also gave him a bit of cop. Wo hast du recht? Said not to the kids that gut wachsen am Schugenen. The discussion was happening there too. So he says, I told him. It's interesting. As an older person, he's remembering an event. I told him, "Besser have mama shugna elchiyid ve'akloder agoy." He told him, but this is why he knows who he is, and this is a fabring who want to talk about Tevesis Nefesh. So later he comes. So I don't know which year, but this boy is 15. They brought him to go out of Russia. Komt on Eretz Yisrael, doing Eretz Yisrael for a while. They meet his friend again. So he shows his Bacher. The Bacher now is not 15, yet is 20. He's 20 years old already. Can I cook some sugar? Ganz a fine Bacher. Haben Kochen in Shemaim. So what is he blew it back? Oh, he has no mazel. So I'm not mazel. It's mazel. It's all David geht. I eat get my Mercedes Nefesh. Meint I'm getting with some baby. And our moves, we decide things not the way the world decides things. We decide things the way the Eibishter wants to do. We make that decision. And this is, only a question, but mein Gefallen ist gedankt. Avram Avinu geboren geworden zu Terach. Yeah? Now, statt sich vor, Avram Avinu ist geboren geworden zu Neach. Yeah, both have a ach in the name. Terach and Neach are similar. Yeah, statt sich vor, before Avram Avinu, a Tate, abusive father, then got Hargenen. And so he broke a few Getschkes in the house. He lived to Melchem Hargenen, and he the Jordan. Then he finds out he himself had a link that shouldn't maybe. He didn't have a teacher. Und als ich durchgemutscht mit der ganzen Stock, mit der ganzen goyische Welt dort, und dann aufhören, was später will die Kernig im Hargenen. Imagine if he would have been born to Neach. Alte Idas, das Hargetomim, was muss fein ausgelernt wegen der Meibischen, was muss gelernt wegen der Mitzvahs, das war zu warum, heilige weg. Kommt to us, if he would have been born to Neach, he wouldn't be Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu is their Yid, it's the first Yid. The first year that is Mercedes Nefesh, with the sameness. Avram Avinu when I eat because he went through 10 years. There's a very called Avis in the sameness, but this is what we go before Mashiach comes. We have to go. What we're going through is called an Nesoyin, and the Nesoyin, the Saturday this is to pick you up, not to knock you down. That's the key. And to think that, if I had different parents, then my life would have been different. Punkt verkehrt. The reason you have the parents you have is David to send you on a mission. David has to have Tzidl Levin. You have a Kavanah. Verkehrt, you as you are. First of all, it's impossible. That's a different discussion. And the Mela, if you have to take the Levin with the David that didn't give him, and with them, that's the Ushaben sein Ayid. Nicht trachten. These are Gedanken. I won't say personally, wegen them. Personally, when the David Baruch Hashem was going through. I was going through many years of Matzlocha, and my father started a business in Postal Light. It didn't start. He had and there was a small thing, and they offered me geboot and gewachsen. So guys, it was not an easy day, but it was always on the way up, always building and adding and Viestas and mit amol Zets. And I get off in Allah. So if you go with this Gedanke, this what we're talking about here, nicht Gedanke as a theoretische Gedanke. We have the Gedanke as ich bin Ayid, und Ayid the geboren Fatzil. So when you see what David does, it's not touch up what's wrong. You find out David wants you to go to Nesoyin. So you have two choices. You can we daven every single day out of the Nesoyin. Aber wenn Nesoyin kommt zu dir, das ist dann Ayid, nicht weil ich goy. So this to trachten, I remember one of the biggest moments was like I had chizik in my life in Swiss. No good. Is gewesen. Ich hab's was ist der Munde? Munde ist Teich as a glaive out of the everything comes from the Eibishter. And once something happened, and this what can sein. It's not Teich if I would have done this and that would have done that. Before something happens, that the Eibishter will some betochen or the weiter. Noch dem sich schon getroffen, the Eibishter wants now to have betochen for going forward that you can change it when gesund, ein paar Noses, how my Yeshua from the Tzore. But after something happens, that's exactly what the Eibishter wanted. Then we come with Simcha and learn sich von them. darf Tshuva tun, darf Tshuva und behalten mit Simcha and verkehrt. But that's the maybe to verstehen. Maybe they want you to do something over here. The Nesoin you just had is not that you think, if I wouldn't have done such a stupid move, then it would have been. Saying couldn't say stuff. Once a guy called me from a businessman, and he, Baruch Hashem, he tells me he had a good business, and then it's a guy to knock on dick, Baruch Hashem, and then he made a bad decision, and never he's and he was very tzibroch, I can't sleep at night, and never. He's looking a few words of physics. So I tried to explain to him then the good as Amuna meint as das was geschehen ist also ein Punkt da sein. Aber du hast Kavon jetzt weiter habe doch they should help you if you have he couldn't put his mind around that. Ich habe gesagt good so ich listen when you made money. You thought you made the money, you made the money yourself, or you felt the Eibishter gave you the money? He said, no, I get me stuck. Rather, betrachten, the Eibishter gave him the Geld. You don't think, Erlich doesn't think he did anything. The Eibishter hat zum zugeführt. Also machen Geld. So how come when you make money, you have to understand half the Eibishter? How come now you lost the money, you have to do? That's so important. Verkehrt. And that's then the science. Anyways, what's the question? I'm sitting over there by this offshore, and I'm looking at the scene. I see 4 generations. A young kid, 3 years old, and the father is trying to give him over. And then Tata gave him the Snaffers, for Yamakan Sitzes, and then Zayde gave him the Snaffers, Yamakan Sitzes. The Zayde, Elder Zayde, and Alta Zayde, even in America. So you have to take this message along, and the kid is soaking it in, understanding it. Then, so why? Here's what we want to listen for the Fabrengen. This Fabrengen on the side. What did our parents do? We have unsere Eltern gehabt mit Kinder. Young guys were on the table here, and the young guys listening. What did our parents teach the kids? That they were able to feel this. He's locked up 6 years in the house, not able to go out to play. He was telling me about coffers, whatever. How he missed that coffers. What did they tell them? Of course, we all tell the kids that but how come today's kids, this Shabbos, we had a family, a teacher, and the teacher's asking me, how can you teach the kids, the marshal, what happens if a kid is hooked on an e-cigarette and he wants to smoke on Shabbos? You're talking about a boy from a good family. You're not talking about a boy that came off the street, a boy from an elder family. So where is it that somehow, if we would take, if people in our generation look at Mesiras Nefesh, we talk about it tonight, we're talking about Mesiras Nefesh, to do Mesiras Nefesh, why they still wants it, was to move it, but it's all, this is our life. Mitamol, in our generation, you talk about Mesiras Nefesh, the kids, it's right, Shabbos. So das is the good. I'd like to figure out tonight what was the nekuda that our parents gave over to the kids, and the kids were able to be makabel and never got angry at the parents why they kept them in the room for 6 years. Verkehrt. Mit Yaakov, doctor, he stayed in the house for 6 years. I've been nicht had my goyish gedank. And today, if Chas v'Sholom, you don't give a kid the right toy, if you don't give the right thing, it's a gandik, abusive parent, and the So I want to say this is the story. I want to start the story that he said that Shana just said before. I was in the class by the real Khan, and he explained the story in a phenomenal way. There's a friend of mine in Australia who he says he never heard the story before. He wants to know where it comes from, so I'll say it now. And if he's listening, he has a story. We were Bacham in Yeshiva, and it was not Fabrengen. It was maybe it was a class before your Beis Tammuz. I remember the leader, but he brought this story, the story noch einmal. The meiste gewesen, as the Rebbe Yatz was, they arrested him 7 times, not 1 time. The last time was Beis Tammuz. They wanted to Nachman have a chayim, but he was arrested 7 times before. And one time before, the guy pulled out a gun. He pointed a gun at the Yatz and he told him that this story made a lot of people change their minds. And instead of getting afraid, he was threatening to kill him. So Rabbi Yatz answered him, "At this story can make afraid a person, only a person." I think the answer is in the story. only a person who has one world and two gods. There's two gods. But a Yid has one God and two worlds. So the pellet from the mice is the guy didn't shoot. The one who got scared was him, and he put the gun away. And this is also I'm speaking a bisschen aber Emunah betochen are not passive. Emunah betochen is not Sache, the Gleibstunde, as the Gleibstunde. Emunah betochen brings out to Yeshua. Your Emunah, it changes things. His Emunah, in the Vade, this is the point. It's angenommen, when he got arrested, sagt Ayatz, he hat angenommen, as they sein Eilen ve'efes mamish. They don't exist. They don't exist. What's again? They don't exist. They don't exist. Yeah, be real. Nein, seine Munde, eine Stocke, andere Sache, das hat gemacht, at the Welt couldn't touch him. Verkehrt. That's exactly what happened. A Munde is not passive. I'm saying I say this in English. It's not that you have a Munde about something, so you got the light. Nein, deine Munde failed in dein Leben, deine Munde failed for the Welt, the Emes, Avaya, the Chesed, the Gutzkeit, the Gamzel, the Teva, the Verhalten. Is of the Tanya in still your Emunah brings out that Teva. So you think Host Emunah, it's not Host Emunah, you see it because Mechazik Zayin. Verkehrt. The Emunah, this is a story. So he says, so remember the Beis, you fact as Shaila. And at certain times you hear a question, you fall asleep. I'm not saying you always listen carefully. And certain questions you hear in the class, and you sit up. Wow, I didn't think of that. So he hears the question Shaila. He said, Mele, a person has one world, and he has a gun pointing at him, and he says, I'm going to shoot you if you don't do so and so. He gets afraid. Why does he get afraid? Because if he gets shot, he loses everything. So he doesn't want to lose everything. So he gets afraid. What happens if a person has two worlds, and the gun is pointing at him? Shoot me, I have a spare tire, yeah. So a person who has two worlds, hat nicht meide. Aber was hat der Rebbe gemeint when he said that am Eid, was hat ein Gott, hat nicht meide. When I Hashem eine, was hat zwei Götter, two gods, hat ja meide. What was it? It wasn't that I remember as a kid, it was like very poetic. Guy has one world and two gods, is afraid. I have one God and two worlds, not afraid. This is a poem. But what does it mean? I remember sitting up, I never have to have us. What's the good? How come if you believe in two gods, you're afraid? And if you believe in one God, you're not afraid. But what does that have to do with afraid? So explain this. Obviously, I heard this in class, and I remember the rest of my life. And so many times in my life, this was a say that you can take your moon and bring it down. I don't bring it to level with them. What heißt zwei Götter? He mentioned many gods. People have many gods. People have a god of a boss, a god of money, a god of rain. Menschen haben a Sach Götter. A Sach Teiches. Was ist zwei? Was ist zwei Götter? Zwei Götter meint people take, when man them leben, and good things, a Mensch geht in leben, geht mit der Gedanke, als der Haftocha, der Chokesem Telecho, du dienst dem Eibischen, tust Teilen Mitzvahs, wenn der Eibischte helfen. Ja, helft der Eibischte. Sehr gut. Der Eibischte gut. Dann der Chas Sholem wird eine Schwierigkeit, wird eine Säulen, and mit dem wird ein Problem, so gun pointing at you. Der Rebbe hat sich gegangen, building yeshivas, tut gute Sachen, and mit dem guns pointing at him. So if you believe in two gods, what's happening? So how is a bad thing happening? In God, a good God. Oh, muss man sagen, the bad God is in control today. He made a coup, made a revolution. 1970 was a revolution. And now the bad guy's in charge. And that's why God is pointing, yes, maybe the bad guys now are a little stronger. You better jump ship. You better have to develop. Aber ein Eid, was gelebt nur in ein Gott. Is nicht nice. It's also wird mit dem ein Gott. The Sachen, the things what he sees is good is mit ein Gott. And the things that happen, he can't see that it's good. Hat Scheide. Das gewinnen, der used to find out was mit Gamzel Teva. But by him, the gun that's pointing on his head is also the selber Eibishter that he wanted, that was a dint. He's serving the one Eibishter. and he's building mikvahs, and he's building yeshivas, and he's nefesh keeping Torah alive by Yidden, doesn't change. The gun is not a raya that is another part of the So what does the Eibishter want to do now? Ain't about it. Tut was Eibishter will, nothing changed. This is the Nukuda. If you can give over to these children this Nukuda, and Munda make nicht noch an Eibishter in Himmel, Al-Mechtige God, he can do what he wants. But he's my God. When the God is not stuck in, there's all the power in the world. And when you drive it into your head, there's a name of God. So then the world turns like that, and that can't touch you. They can't touch you, and the world acts the way it was created for. The world of Mashafen. So that is So what's the Kuda? I eat Beis as the world can't go against him. Really, it can be in the soil. The world can make believe. It can pretend that it's blocking something. But when the Eid stands and says the truth, and nothing, I'm not doing anything the Eibishter doesn't want me to do, then the world changes, and that's how you change the world. So how do you give this over to your children? If you tell your children realize, or you tell your children, you teach your children, this Nekuda, that the Eibishter is a Kilyoch, and the Eibishter created me and gave me a neshama, that's Chel Mamash, and I have a purpose in life. And my kavanah is this, whatever I'm going through in life, that's my kavanah. And my kavanah is to do what the Eibishter wants and bring the Eibishter into my life, to tell the mitzvahs. So Mitamol, he's proud to be Mitamol gets a hardship. That's the point. His job now, this boy's job now, was to be in the house, not to go outside. And this is where he's serving David. David is happy with him. What's the happiness? You know, when is this in the Kutum is in Anliegen? When David is by Friday. And I found the Mitamol, and get out of it, go. Yeah. Everybody thought it's over. The day before I was freed, I got a letter and they told me you're stuck in jail. Not 18 years. They're stuck. The whole court system shut down. The case was closed and you're stuck. Right? So instead of so I saw what happens to people when they get such letters, they fall into terrible depression. What they do now? They're stuck in their Chatava. They start this and work and but he knows that there's no other word. So the only reason he did a status because David wants to do a status. So he can't do a status doesn't mean David can't save him. If he can't do a status, it means that the David now will make the status for him. And that's not a wise way. And the David will make the Keli also. He doesn't think because you didn't say that he can't be saved. Verkehrt. Betachon means he says if you're in a situation of you cannot be saved, is as no betachon. This is the reason. Heb ik leven geholpen, maar het is dus nog sterker. Heeft geholpen. Hij says strong. I continue going. I said that I can do no status, but it doesn't mean you can't save me. Heb betachon you'll save me. And that night was the 8th night. And I Baruch Hashem the last night in that place called prison. It's in the Hanukkah licht licht und you zungen alle Sachen und wir sagen wir sagen mit das an neres allokiert schein ja nach Brachos was nicht noch sehen wir haben heim bis man azar dem ich mach nissen ich habe gesungen getanzt und gesprungen and then I went to sleep at that night the pedal I fall asleep yeah and then I got up that morning I used to get up every morning 4:30 in the morning they don't do for years I have in this I want to say the Tillim. I didn't make a joke. I didn't do much capitals at school of getting out of prison. I was the ganze Tillim. That wasn't the reason. The reason they said the whole capital Tillim is especially school. So they said also the next morning. I got up in the morning and I right to stay on Tillim. So I remember they said, "Come to me, like we're getting up home." He's like Tillim. But you get Tillim. You got a letter yesterday again. They just stuck. So I'm not stuck. The Epstein is on the stick and they can marry them. I feel as if you talk about America, so you go back to sleep. I'm not going back to sleep. I'm saying to him, yeah, this is after that, yeah. Anyway, he told us nicht. So I told him, you do stay in bed. He should go to sleep, and now I'm getting up. I got up. I said the whole to him. I mean, looking back, it's like a peldik and mice, but it shows the keich and the shama. Usually, you fall into depression. You fall, yeah, because emunah and betachon are real. There's a keich and the shama you have, and this is you have to just wake up the etzem and the shama. Emunah betochen is not a zach you have to reach to. Emunah comes from your neshama. In neshama you get naturally by zayin ayid. You get born ayid. It's not neshama. So that neshama gives keiches. I have to say to them, and that's the day. There was a 3-6 for skier. The guy comes open the door, tells me, "Rubashkin, get out." And I was free. Yeah, his Maisa is later, swarm of the guys that were still inside, called up the family to Peldik and Maisa. The albums are tumult, Zachin and Zirik, there's a Maisa, and everybody thought it's over. And Mithamod, as this Hanukkah, the Ebshi sent the President Trump, and Modevish Machgut to Shliach and Bafreit. Yeah, so one of the guys inside called the family with the Maisa. They hear how one guard asks another guard, "Who is this Rubashkin that the president freed?" I want to, because there's have a Levine yeshivas, that's such a ratio how many rabbeim for how many students. They have a one guards, maybe I don't know, make a cheshbon, 800-900 guys there. They had a few hundred guards. So one guard asked, "Who's Rubashkin that Marganza Tumul?" So he says, "You know the guy that was always happy?" I know the MS is, I never thought of describing that to me. I thought describing the guy was very religious, the guy was a little bit crazy, a lot crazy. A guy, the beard, the guy that was, he described me, the guy was always happy. What was happy? Was always happy. Wasn't happy. I eat, but I eat love and neshama, that's who he really is. And the simcha zachayim is, when you eat those who live once, after the end of simcha, you can't match it, even the way he sees. This is the Verbringen tonight. Verbringen tonight is about Mesilas Nefesh. Mesilas Nefesh meint nicht Chagin Zach. Mesilas Nefesh meint nicht, I'm thinking for Dach. Mesilas Nefesh is Mesilas HaRotzen. Nefesh is Rotzen. Mesilas Nefesh, übergeben sich the Rotzen. We look, made them anachnu loch. Made them anachnu loch. Was made them is good. I thank the Rebbe for seine Eibeste. Ja, das weiß er. Made them, Sato Hashem Lekeinu. Made them make, ich will made it. We have to see, in English, it's submit. I submit to you, Abish, that it's the way you see the thing. We see a world, and we see a world that you think has a power, there's another power, the Sansvei Getter. If we have to learn to the point and see the world, there is no Einet Navade, and then you'll see how the world talks back to you in a way that you not only won't stay against you, will help you with everything you could. I was there for 8.5 years, and Baruch Hashem, I never got hurt. I mean, the guys did beat me up now. It's one of the prisoners. They've been people that were there for murder and for all nice things that you can't talk about. Never hurt me. Why? Because when I eat, is I eat out the andere keches, and this is what Mesilas Nefesh is, the Chayim, the Zaman keches, and this is the answer. We have to speak to our children the way that they should feel that they have a kavanah in when our parents spoke to us, und sie geredet mit der Arena Muna, der Iker Stayid, ist ganze Ziel ist von den Menschen. Und unsere Simche kommt von den Menschen. And we consider, when the größte Glück in der Welt ist von den Menschen. So then the kid, if we miss on that, we start explaining everything in terms of what is good for you and how you enjoy it and how it's beautiful. It was not the essence. And the kid finds all the nice things, and you haven't got a problem. So we have to teach our kids in the Eifel that they should not feel that a mitzvah is a person anxiety. Verkehrt. The greatest simcha should be being able to do mitzvah. Shani, what's the question? Sorry. This story, for whatever reason, didn't make it into a book. I said, I have a book written. This story, I don't know if we did read the book, didn't read the book, right now, but this story, for whatever, it didn't get in there. So, but I want to share this with you. Was heißt the Munah? And how you have to be with that zugehen, with the Edelskei and the Emmerskei, that a Munah is real. David is real. This is not stam gerecht. Has schon. This place called prison. They wanted Rahman I should be there for 27 years. It's a long time. 27 days is a long time. 27 hours is a long time. 27 years in Meshuggah. So one of the ways they made it easier for me, I want to share a few stories because then the Munah Lane helped. So one of the ways that David helped me, there was in this prison, it's like the medium security prison. A lot of the medium is about one level on the high. The high is the top, and because some of the years they're afraid you're going to run away, so they put you with people on the very stringent guard, and these guys are murderers of the mafia. The reason I said before, the Nazis are never going to hurt by these people because these guys settle problems. There wasn't a debate. The guys don't like you, and I punch in the face. As I say, over there they take everybody can buy a combination locker for the locker, so they take a locker, put it and then they swing it. It's a lethal weapon. I saw 4 or 5 guys had the face smashed in with this thing. You take the kids said. So one of the things is they have a visiting room, and the visiting room the lost nine friends and family. My family used to come every Friday, and friends came Sunday, Monday, whatever. The problem is, that in order to get into the visiting room, there's a mini pidney shvuim. If you know somebody in prison, you should know if you go visit him, it's mamash a pidney shvuim for a few hours. You sit with him and talk, and there's also the machines, and that's Baruch Hashem made sure that there was normal food over there you can buy. There's a few stories I want to share with you. Talking about one with my kids over there with ice cream back upon him. This story. So to get into this room, you need to have a point or 2 points, depending on Friday and Monday. You need 1 point, and Sunday you needed 2 points. So if you take Friday 1, 2, and Sunday usually is 4, and 4 times usually at least 4 weekends in a month. Sometimes it's 5, depending how it falls out. So you wind up with 4 times 4 usually 16. Yeah. So if they'll give you 12. So that's a problem because Sunday is 2, and Monday, Monday becomes a national holiday. And Marshal George Washington was born, so that's Leiden because now 2 points for Monday. So you're not going for another day. So what do? So as I upon they wish to go home one day. The Mama Shemai, I don't even know why. I went over to the guy in charge. And I told him, I don't understand. Why are you taking 2 points for Monday and a holiday? Nobody's in the room. If you're having points there because you want crowd control, you want 2 people to come on shot. But Mondays is 1 point. What's after the holiday? Why have to take away a point for it? Usually, why did he ask the question? Because usually the answer was, even before they heard what you said, he says, no, I finished your head. No, okay. And the Pella is, the guy listened to me, and he says, he took a right. But Mela, at the end of the visiting room, he says, remember, I'll not forget, he says to me, the visiting room is made to be used. The Mela, if you're missing points at the end of the month, but now, I told him, if it gets filled up, I'll walk out the first one. I'll be the first one to leave. Oh, if I say you come, I'll give you more points at the end of the month. Because I don't give it night that you were the first, if it fills up, you're the first one to leave. So it became at the end of every month, I was missing 2-3 points, whatever I was missing. And I'd go over to the head guy, and he would give me extra points. I would go over to the guy in charge of the computer, and he would put it to the computer. The Rubashkin has extra 3 points. So in the front, when they see I'm past 12, they still let people in. I'm mamish matara from him. The penalty is the nicer. Let's say this guy wasn't there at the end of the month. I couldn't find him, whatever. Nobody else will do it. That makes the story more penalty. So then what happens is it goes on for a year, 3, whatever, how many years. And then the guy who I go to put it into the computer, he gets angry at me. He says, "Why do you think you're special?" He says, "You get extra points." So I'm not special. The guy says you have to do it. So he says, "Okay, I'm tired of you always coming to me. Get permission for the whole year and finish." I give all the kick So I go. So I go over to the guy and I say, I don't be a chazda, but your employee at me is up, as he's tired of putting it in, and I made a cheshbon that even if it's a 5-day weekend, I was missing, I think, 6 points, whatever. And that cheshbon put on the computer to have 6 extra points, and then I bother nobody. So I said, no problem. He signs the paper. I have the paper the guy that came up with me. So, so why am I telling you the story? Because the Eibishter helped. I get 1 June of 1 year, and this guy is planning to retire. That was the rumor. He didn't have to sign, but Anoshim who claimed to know what to talk about, he's retiring. Next year, he's not going to be anymore. By me geworden, a Gresha Shaila in Hilchas B'tachon. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to go ask him now to sign the paper for the next year. Yeah? I verstanden, he's the only guy doing it, that's not. Aber mir gewar Shaila that if I go to ask him for what's the things in Munde B'tachon? Yes, I'll go to bringen. Then I've explained very, very, very smart. A Munde means if something if something happened to you already, is Gamsul table. Going forward, Going forward, then you have to know that the Eibishter wants you to have betochen. He was encouraged to have betochen. But betochen you see over there, betochen means it's not stira. That was trying to put together why it's no stira. Because a lot of people feel that it's stira. The Eibishter knows the best what's for me. Was geich beten for Anders. Maybe the best thing for me is the way it is. But tonight, till now, even if you don't see how it's good for you, that's the gleiben gamzol. And maybe Makabel Simcha, invest for the you continue serving the Eibishter Simcha. But behind weiter will the Eibishter, you should be prayer, like you say, Vater Bechram, begreep Bechram, but wanneer die Simcha gewoon run. Eibishter goed often dezelfde zaken, but should be in the effort even never niggle. What is that with all the others? So the Tachan means from going into the future, that the Eibishter gave Mazat Toiv, was nicht that Toiv was the Eibishter, versteht is good, that Toiv was yeah, the Eibishter, I can say is good. Yeah, so if it's sorry, need money. So the fact there was no money until now, you don't come forward, you don't come to get down. Forget the reason it's in the story, the Eibishter wants to see that even in the matzav you're in, best aufstehen the fear daven with Simcha, and then betochen, the Eibishter wants you to have betochen going forward, the Eibishter will save you. You show this thing is mamish important. I remember 18 years in prison is not an easy thing, and then many times like they sort of come to me and say, "Shamat, what's has to say? Stupid, it's gonna be good." After I'm a couple, but sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's even easier. They say I'm a couple, that's verkehrt. I'm a holy Jew. I'm a couple, the simcha. You soon the market, whatever. Then it's not true because if you don't have a talking, you'll see that you're not. They still want you. They still wants a year to have a talking. In the Tzorah, the Gemara of Tzorah. So if you really feel the prison is the Tzorah, I thought to myself, then I have to ask David to get out of here. More. So why am I saying that? Because I remember there's a guy there, I was standing outside, there was a wichtig from which nationality he was, and he's saying to his other friend, he says, "Man, I never had it so good over here. Over here, I have a bathroom in my bedroom." So a guy like that, he doesn't have to go out of prison. That's I'm good. Auf Amerika werden darf ich nicht gut, aber da ist einfach nicht gut. Habe ich eine Mitzwe, ich darf das nicht, aber ich habe von Swiss. Das ist doch mein, David wants you, don't I know that to change what it is. So if you I either say Madrega, the Zusha never had a problem with that. Not that he didn't want to change anything. And I make very good, David will. Everybody did it good, David will. They not you don't have to doubt. But if what's happening to you is interfering and it's causing you not to be able to do the maybe no Shabbat Tochen comes after Shabbat is to the king. Shabbat Tochen is better. You want to be able to show you want to serve the Eibishter. So the Eibishter, in order to serve the Eibishter, you need to have it good. You need to have money, you need to have gesund, you have to have children, and chinuch, all gute Sachen. And if you can do the Eibishter, so if something's going wrong and it's interfering, it's a bad death, it's stark, then I will Hashem, will the Eibishter, anyways, I had this problem. Every morning I got up, how to get up in the morning, 4:30, say to them, the Chazam miserable place in a cell, how big the cell was. The cell was, this is 6 feet, 8 feet. The size of these two tables, these two tables, these two tables, two beds, a sink, and a toilet. I had this host to be able to put a mechitz around there, and the tulakas, it's tough of Dortmund. You get up in the morning, the guy on top, double bed, double shelf, yeah? And the guy chropped that neben, and you gotta get up and how do you get out of bed? Yeah, with them to bank. Bis jetzt gewinnt die beste Sache. Bis jetzt am Mund Pschutte, kam so Teil, kommst du in Teines. Mir gut. Verkehrt, nicht gut, sehr gut. Aber heint, I'm going to get up, ich didn't maybe and bet and Davis and get me out of here. Yeah? So here's the problem. So you have a quarter cup, yeah? So you're thinking, I'm going to go over to this guy and ask them to give me points for next year. Yeah, so mit amol, so I started this answer. I want to get out of here. And I'm preparing myself how to be here next year. I'm doing good. I already prepared myself. I got my points. I can handle this one. Yeah. So how can you get me out of here? Right. There's a little. And the second problem. This one problem. And he said, "Come on, come on, come on, man." But come on, man, the I have to get time. I couldn't get myself to go. And the fact that I had the problem was, why do I think that after he's giving me points? Yeah. I feel that somebody is giving you something. Who gives you? They gave you. So if I'm going to him to ask, because he's leaving, he's yeah, klar, nicht klar, aber ja, then is v'nafshe. The Eibush, you're being close to the Eibush knows what you're reading in your heart. You're nervous that the next guy won't do it. This guy is doing it. So you go to him. So you don't really believe the Eibush gave it to you. If you really believe the Eibush gave it to you, what's in the gear? The same Eibush will put this guy over here to give you points. The same Eibush will give it next guy 20 points. What's just made it? So in June, July, it was easy. I had plenty of time. Gestuft. Weet je? We gaan niet zo hard vieren, ze gaan begonnen. Is een van de zaken. Die punt waar stoep duur op, dat stem op. Je hoort wel, wist dat het slaat blad gemorren. Wat komt zo? Zeker dat het blad gemorren. Zeker, ja, op morgen. Oké, zo zeker op morgen. I'll figure it tomorrow. Anyways, June went by, July went by, August, September. Werd ze net is de andere jaar, oktober. Je kan zorgen. I'm saying the story publicly, and they used to know. I think it was only one time I even talked to myself, maybe I filled out the paper, I can't remember for sure. But I said, Mama, she ran in the story because it was so important to be able to get out the Menuchas HaNefesh for a day, 2 days in the week, to be with the family. Maybe I have no right to do it. We're talking to find out. But after I learned, against that problem, I didn't do it. December 2017, they used to feed me from prison. 10 days before the new year, by the going. And I believe I would have gone over and would have asked for more points, but I got the points. And who knows? That's the story. The story is what we do makes a difference. But the Rebbe Yatzot at Machtel given. By M, Ein Ed Milvad is for real. He suffered. They beat him up. Well, not a joke. They came into him and they told him they have to. He has to stand up. As Weisen to show that they are guards and they have a little shlita. He has to stand up, and he wouldn't stand up. Stand up. Big deal, yeah. But they don't exist. They don't stand up. He spoke to them in Yiddish. They spoke to him in Russisch, and he answered back in Yiddish. There were a few guys there, Jews, that knew how to speak Yiddish like that, you know. But and there's all these details are written in the story. I schreibe alle Sachen, but the truth is, Machle gewesen, eine Milvade, and einfach mit dem geschlagen. You're talking about a Rebbe. You're not talking about the Fascist Rahman al-Islam and he suffered. But so the Rebbe explains what was it? What's the gewesen als they? Because that's the and the Soine Teich. But the God Weisen is not anders, and that will fail. That will fail. They had to let him go because if he would have given any Metzias to them, God had geholfen dort. So we're not talking betochen. It's not we're talking about like a madrege, a shene zach, idische zach, a heilige zach, geristige nedens. It's a fail mamish. If you have, we have to take this emunah and bring it into every facet. I shared with you a story. I thought the story was a personal story, so I didn't put it in the book. The parallel I shared with the people said, Meshuggah, why don't you put it in? So I'm sharing with you now. Because the story, Weiss, as Aid left, and what you do makes a difference. You're right. If you have to show them do something which have a chamunah, can cause damage. I've seen that, but right. So just like if you have a moon is good, you have a moon is right is good. What's the difference? I'm going to make it makes a difference to me if I do believe it. David can have to God. In your world, David should write but if your world, if you don't believe so then that causes the world to be able to hurt you. When you mechanech your kids in this way, you start with a question: how would you mechanech kids in Russia? It's not Russian. In America, I'm an American chocolatnik. Okay, so it's not only Russian. What education do our parents give? Not only me, Rabbi Shanowitz, our generation. What generation did we? What education we got? We got an education that Eden's an include. Hier gemaakt we das in Kalam. Das Chochme belongs to uns. MS belongs to uns. There's nowhere to look anywhere else. Any Blavadi. We grew up in a world where you want to have MS, you want to answer in life, you by Eden. When angefangen, how can a goy give any insight in my life? But Rahman today we have situations where I don't know how this happened. I was stuck in a place called prison for 8.5 years. I didn't see where the change happened. Our mitzvah today is popular. Can man sagen, viel am geguckt vereinflusst unser Leben von Goyischer Seite. Mit dem keine, I don't know, I can say this is on air, but I'll tell you the fact. I have Shanowitz here, I have Rabbi Ehrman here, I have the names there. Over here, Rabbi Benzi Shanowitz, also our generation. And bei uns gewesen, at the Raposhut, bei Goyim seine Schäden. In seiner Klug, wird eingefallen, als Aid geht fragen a Goy, etwas a Chochme, to Islam to learn. You ever have an urge to stop going the street and ask him how he raises his children so you should copy him? Like you see a guy walking his dog pushing a stroller. You ever have an urge to run over to the person and say, no, what's the secret how to raise good children? You ever have an urge? That's very shocking. And yet, see, when I'm a gate to Goyische Menschen, und man fragt von sie, was sagst du? Wie trafst du? As if the answer, so here's the problem. The problem is, our parents spoke in absolute terms. They didn't spell it out. They didn't spell it out maybe in the Shita with a Mahalach. They didn't spell the Shita with a Mahalach. But Mr. Heingerett, the reason why Jews do things in Gakishayra for, Akshonim, Balmisiris Nefesh, they have no brains, and that's what they do with the brains, but so we're smart. And we have a lot to talk about. And we have a lot of Chochmah to explain. And we have a lot of understanding of if you want to know about Nafshi Shodom, after I say the Chassidus and if you want to know the truth about how the Beis created the world, David tells you that the creator of the world tells you how he did it. Not somebody who's trying to figure out from the backside. So when you want to talk to a child and you talk Tata the Sasser, if you talk to a child and you tell them, Emes bleibt bei Jeden. Und Klugschei bleibt bei Jeden. Und alles bleibt bei Jeden und von dort darf man jenig sein, ist die Hände versteht. Yes, Tata, why do I have to be in a room for 6 years? Well, the communists want to teach you the kfira, and you shouldn't learn the kfira. So the child is ready to do it. I got to tell you a story. I want to wait till after the song because I want to happen in this story. The story Baruch Hashem I learned, and Baruch Hashem I was able to see what I learned with Peil Mamish in every single situation. Sai in Ashiris and Sai. There was a guy once. I live now in New Jersey, so I have a license. My license expired. So I have a guy drives me to the morning to the Minyan. So this guy one morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, he's driving me to shul, and he turns around to me and says, "Tell me, how much were you worth before the pogrom, before the raid?" That's Shaila. Want to know how much money it was too early. I It was 2 in the morning for the question, and there's a doctor was there, a nice guy. Anyways, so I took a pause and thinking, how do I answer this question? So I said, actually, before the raid, I was priceless. I put up, I got a shtetl in the yeshiva. The yeshiva is still going today. Baruch Hashem, I fought for kashrus. What are you talking about? I'm priceless. He looks the stunned look. That wasn't the answer he wanted. So I said to him, if you're looking for numbers, I'll tell you, actually, for the raid, the business was doing over $300 million a year in business. And it was wow. Yeah. So if you wow on a few numbers, dollars, yeah. Hashem does, Hashem lokach, Hashem was habe ich ganz nice. There, you got very excited. When I told you the truth, you got bored. Baruch Hashem, didn't get an accident. I got the shul because I haven't done so good and fine. Aber the Meise von der Munde betroffen, everybody understands with God and cotton. But you have to be ready to say it. You have to be ready to live it, and you have to understand what it is. It's a Meise show. In Zeit von Ashiris, aber was getracht. In Zeit von Anias in the place called prison. No greater Anias in the place called prison. And the gang with them seal, ein Levade. Ein Stück andere Sachen, ein Stück andere Chochme, ein Stück andere Middes, ein Stück der einzige Sache ist Eberstein. Give me anything else is ein of efforts. If Chas Sholem, you're going to give me to other things, you're bringing a rein service of Beis, and you see it. Mamish, you see the real mamish. You can't talk to anybody. I met a guy. I lived in Monticello for 3 years. Yeah, in Southgate, next to New Hampstead. I dive in the Siradna. In Yeshua over there, over there was the Yid, he made a Kiddush Shabbos. I go on the Shabbos, I go, what's the Kiddush? Come back to what's the Kiddush? His son had a terrible accident. He flipped over his car in the Palisades, and with Nissim walked out, no damage to him, no. I meet him a few years later. I say, what's the zoon? What are you talking about? He's never have a different road, and he got in his left ditch, and almost telling me. So he works by Eden, so they pay him money to put on film, and if they pay him more money, he'll say fish more. So why doesn't he do mitzvahs? He says mitzvahs makes him anxious. Listen, ich habe gegangen, das sag Eden was tun schon film, und gewesen. I never heard this time that putting on film makes him anxious. So I'm not even thinking. A guy had Nissim. A guy was a person geraten with the Kiddush 1, 2, 3 times. That's one tell you story. If you tell the child that I must, it is okay. I'm not blaming the father or anything. But so we're sitting in the visiting room. In the visiting room, there was ice cream machine. America is a Edom is a kosher chaz l'fisel. The guys also is beautiful. So the visitors that come to the thing have to see if Sashen is similar of Yarach. And vending machines and ice cream machines. That's the fizz ice cream. Mamish garid nali. But the ice cream was not Chol Yisrael. It's Chol Vakim. Nervous. In America, they put a little D next to it, and there are those that say you can eat it. But Baruch Hashem, we never eat Chol Vakim. So start whatever you want to call it. And because Emunah and Betochen comes from the neshama. Emunah and Mrs. Nefesh is a expression. Always talk from the neshama. Wie das Heche von alle Hagbodes, Heche von Sefer Midas. The Inyan from the neshama beschreibt durch ich mit dem ewigen Land Cheshbenis. So here's a story with a little boy. My youngest kid, was 4 years old when the police came into the house and arrested me and put on chains. And he's visiting his father now in jail behind glass, and they're wearing Purim clothes, the bright orange clothes, the different styles, whatever. But it was all meant to make his father look not so nice. The pressure this kid had, the trauma, and the anxiety, and the sadness, yeah. And 4 years later, the story happened. So that's what I'm telling you the story. Baruch Hashem, the kid never had to go to Aristotle Chavirov. And he watched his parents. They let the money be talking as they should taught is good. They said, "Get sich helfen." As they take left. Das schmecken. Das lebt der Gang. So mitzvahs dem. Das ist wie gerne gesagt. The Tech Hashem never should help. We're sitting in the thing. He knows that we don't eat. So the Mele, if you understand how you work and you have a neshama, and your mood comes from the neshama, you're gonna make sure your neshama is able to be clean. So the neshama will kenna the chuzah. If Chas Sholem you eat nicht kosher essen, so then bist du mit Tamtem dann leben. Tamtem the neshama soll nicht können fühlen the kedusha that has to feel. My Zayda gave a good motion. If you touch a wire, you touch electricity, you get a shock. Right? Why? Because there's a guy that he grew up in Tammuz. This guy and his friends used to laugh at him. Why he does take the mitzvahs? They do it. They don't feel anything. So he tells them, "Yeah, keep Shabbos as kosher. You'll feel something." And give him this motion. And you touch electricity. Why? You get a shock. Why? Because there's a guy in there. There's some juice in there, and you feel it. Have a shock. So the what happens? You take rubber and you cover the wire, and you touch the wire through rubber, you don't feel nothing. Why? Because you insulated yourself against the chayes that's in there. Yeah? Because there's everything on the neshama. And the neshama is learning how to see for the Musach Siddhis, the Chama Kodesh is then as essen, Chashon, nicht kosher essen, mit Tante, and you can't, the Neshama get reingeworfen. So verkehrt, we saw, if you ask anybody to feed him ice cream as a D, what does D stand for? Everybody thinks D stands for the dairy. It really stands for disaster. The D is for disaster, for danger, for don't eat it. because I eat Chashon, the Essen, that's a comfortable. And if you look at it, what's really involved? I want the kid to be happy. How can he be happy? As a chus v'ayid and a shama, that's the night to fit. It feels like whatever is going through is in the same from the Beis not so nichtig. So Baruch Hashem is beautiful. The Beis to help the soil. And one day we're sitting. So Klein's ice cream used to come and visit over there. Klein ice cream was a mitzvah from Pidyon Shvuim. That's the Kuman. And he saw the matzav. So the thing is, he's going to work. He's going to work the system, and he's going to get Chol Yisrael to come in. And it took months. He got the bill. He got it, but it took months and months and months. This story happened in between. So we're sitting one day in the visiting room, and the guy walks into the room, and he sees my little boy sees this guy buys 2 ice creams, the dangerous one, and if one for him, he came to visit somebody. He bought 2 ice creams. So he turns to me, he sucked he gives a pull on my sleeve, and tells me, Tati, they brought him home Yisrael. He wants to have ice cream. He didn't have that he didn't eat dangerous ice cream. So I give a look. So from the rapper, that's not Klein's kosher. This is the other state. So no, you can't do this. Hold on. But he wasn't ready. Now this kid lost it. He got nervous. He got really nervous. Heeft een question, what's that? Because in his head, is that Jana STN? And the tata, the slechte tata with the funny suit, the funny clothes. So remember how I looked at him. I didn't look normal. And I wasn't giving him anything. He had nothing from me other than knowing my father. And I can't show ice cream. He me, I am so hot, I can't take it. But you can't. Bald Mamet can't cave him. You go back to Monticello, you'll buy some ice cream. And he doesn't want to hear the Chachmas. And he was ice cream. So he starts. How an 8-year-old can do, and he starts getting up, walking around, making noise, and that's fine. The guard gets upset. He calls me over, and he wants to tell me. He tells me, "Listen, I'm warning you. If you don't get your kid to be quiet, I'm going to throw them out. If they're out, I have to go back in to the very nice place with all the wonderful people." So I go back, and I'm trying to reason with you. That's the guy just told me, the bad guy just told me, if you keep on with your monkey business here, and you can't walk around, you can't walk around, it's a prison. You can't, the guys get nervous when they see you walking around, they can't control it. So please, and then now, well, mommy's going to buy your ice cream. Yeah, Daddy, I can't dance, so hard. For Corona, anyways, I felt bad for the kid. I was like, yay. But for second side, I thought maybe I can get him inspired. So I'm going to tell you like this. If you wait an hour and a half, we'll sit together. Then mommy takes you back to Monty, she'll buy you 2 ice cream. Yeah. And so that's true. I got extra ice cream. He's a good businessman. So I told him, 3 ice creams. No, 4 ice creams. No, 5 ice creams. 6 ice creams. This is an Inge, this is boy. 6 ice creams, you can't eat 6 ice creams. If you ever had it, you can't eat 6 ice creams in one shot, even if you try. And so you'll put some in the freezer for tomorrow. Because this is good. I'm hot. So I always laugh. Like we want Mashiach now, he wants ice cream now. I went up to 10, 7, 8, 9, 10, and this kid can't get off it. He needs ice cream. He needs to get the. And then the guards call. The Chal is also interesting. That over there, he can tell you Shanowitz. He goes to these places. They don't give you a second chance. They give you an order. If you listen good, then they get me I want to show the boss. They Baruch Hashem, they dealt with me a little bit different. They call me over. And they said, I'm warning you, if you don't get the kids quiet, I'm going to throw them out. Not warning. So I go back. I came back and lost. I felt bad for the kid. His father. This boy, when he was 5, 6 years old, he come visit me in Otisville. He couldn't understand how come when he leaves Friday, I go one way, he goes the other way. Mama said, I was all the time. I thought, it was heart-rendering. I said, Schreien, why are you going? Why'd you come home? I said, come home. I said, God doesn't let. I don't care. Come home. Anyway, so this kid, anyways, I think that boss, well, how can I get this? I didn't know what to get. Why am I this is the cool? Why am I talking to say? I was trying to reason with him. And then I didn't reason didn't help, so I tried to bribe him 2 ice creams, 3 ice creams, 5, 10 ice creams. A self-gain. What you're gonna have from the ganze Meise. Let me talk to the Neshama. Let me talk to him like I talk to myself, because I love my Neshama. Eén zaak, basics. So how would I say to myself? I was 8 years old, right? I looked a little more than him, but I figured that these words any Jewish kid can understand, and this is the story of my Shakahoya. You're talking about a kid that went through trauma and anxiety on the top degree. So I tell him in English, you have 2 choices here. One choice you have ice cream right now. I wasn't getting ice cream. It's true. It's a choice he had, but if he would take that choice, I would tell him, okay, go home. But I wanted him to make the decision. You have 2 choices. One choice you have ice cream right now, and you'll be happy because you're getting ice cream, you feel good. It's hot, you can breathe. You have ice cream, it's hot, good. You'll be happy, but the Eibush won't be happy. And a second bread you have is you'll wait an hour, and the mom will take you home, and mom will buy you ice cream. I didn't say 10 ice creams. I said the ice cream. I remember this conversation very well. And then when you go home and get ice cream, buy kosher ice cream. So then you'll be happy eating ice cream, yeah. And the Eibush will be happy because it's kosher ice cream. Which one do you want? This kid's a little face, and I'm looking at him, and it was probably real time, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, but me it felt like 10 minutes because I don't understand what's he going to say. And I watched this kid trying to digest what I just told him. And suddenly, when he chapped, you see the click where he chapped what I was telling him. If you have ice cream right now, then only he'll be happy, not the Eibush. Or he'll wait an hour and he'll have ice cream and he'll be happy. That's a key point. When you the Eibush wants, you have Elam Habo. Some Elam Hazar. Okay, so he clicked for him, and he clicked. I thought, what was he going to say now? And he stopped talking about ice cream. And they make it easier for me because the metach was intense. For the last 20 minutes, we're fighting and arguing and sit down. So he himself realized that the situation here is a little bit unrestrained. So he started talking about the yeshiva next week. He has a trip. He changed the conversation. With the ice cream wasn't even a conversation. So I learned 2 things that day. I learned 2 things that I want to tell you. And this is talking about an 8-year-old boy. What 10 ice creams couldn't do for him, the Parshat Yediyah was taught is the Eibush that's zufrieden with them. That's what you have to know. It didn't get cooler. There's no air conditioning in this place. And there's no air conditioning. We have air conditioning from now. The reason it was hot, there's no air conditioning in that. They don't give air conditioning in that facility in that visiting room. So nobody turned the air conditioning on. It's not easier. Now, when he knew, ich gehe jetzt als schwere Zeit jetzt in mein Haus. Aber der Eibush ist zufrieden mit mir. Dann mit dem hat er zu tun. And so what 10 ice creams couldn't do, the Parshat Yediyah. So this is what it means talking to a child. That's the way that the previous generation was able to have a child. I was talking about my son. He was in the house for 6 years. And he never chapsich that he's supposed to be traumatized. He never chapsich that he's supposed to be angry with his parents. He never chapsich that he's supposed to be sad about his situation, because to him, he's making the Eibush happy. He was the happiest boy in the world because every day he woke up, he realized it's tough. And he was davening for a better day. He was davening for a day he'll leave the communist regime. And Baruch he did. But every day was so meaningful to him because every day the Eibush went straight with him. There's no bigger simcha. The guy said, Rubashkin is a guy who was always happy. He wasn't always happy. I got up every day, maybe you can get me out of here. The simcha wasn't a stupid smile on my face I walked around the whole time with. There's in the simcha that either has from the neshama that shows out obviously that because you're doing what Eibush wants you to do. You're attacking the place you don't want to be, but you're doing it when Eibush wants you to do it. And then when you do it, Eibush wants you to do it, then the same goes away. And then I learned another lesson. And this lesson maybe is even stronger than the first lesson, but I'll share with you anyway. The second lesson is like this: a yid can never be happy if the Eibush is not happy. Because a yid is a chelik of mamish. This the whole Nekuda here was built around the Nekuda that Eid has in the Shama, Eid versteht, Eid has Bezug mit Eibishten, Eid has a Avativus zum Eibishten, will sein noch zum Eibishten, jetzt noch Megala sein. The Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, you have to just reveal the Avativus that's there. Is there? But Lozich dienen, I mean, how is Lozich to do it? Eid can we always think we'll be happy by doing this, I'll be happy doing that. If what you're doing is connecting the Eibush, you're happy. If you're doing something that the Eibush is not happy, it's impossible for you to be happy because you're not something that somebody else who can do something and be happy on his turf, and the Eibush won't be happy. We're happy. It's a difference of opinion here. You're one with the Eibush. It's not because you have a neshama. How could you be happy if they're not happy when you have a chilek to have a mamash? It's hard with the Einheiten. It could be that this child felt that. So the Kuda is. You Beis Tammuz, we call you Beis Tammuz. It's not just about thinking about the Rebbe Yatz and Sidis Nefesh, and he overcame the communists, and he was able to leave over even in Russia till later, till the communists fell. They still remained Elach Yidden. It's much more than that. We have to learn from them. We have to learn what heißt an Neshama, what heißt Haid, the kechs we have, and to know that we be happy? How do we get rid of our anxieties? How do we have a good self-esteem? How do we get rid of our depressions, our Schwarzjör? Darf by being a Yid. Darf verkehrt. Come back home. Geh nicht suchen andere Plätze. Alles liegt in Teil. Alles liegt bei dich in der Schamme. Und verkehrt, you look at all the places, it's like mamish, like pouring. The Rebbe Yatz wants to use the story. How do you say story tonight, Taki? There was the discussion in the Times. In America, whoever believes, we have to talk about the story again. I read this as a young kid. There was a discussion, and one of the people there by the meeting got up and gave a motion that there was a poets, and the poets had a landowner who rented a house, a moshke. He rented a house from him, and he came one day to pass by the guy's house. So the guy invited him for a snack. And he gave him a drink of water. In those days, he didn't have Poland Spring. He gave him water from the well, and the father springs the water from the well. They said it was like a dirty water. It was water that had too much iron. It wasn't exactly Poland Spring or whatever fresh water. He spits it out and he says, "Who drinks it? How do you use this dirty water? I don't want you ever to use this water again." Oh, something good. I won't use the water again. That night, the fire broke out in this guy's house. The guy pulled out his family. The house burned to the ground. The father comes back with the time. Why don't you take water and pour it out the fire? He said, "You told me not to use the water." Dr. Behemoth, I told not for drinking. You can't use it. Put it out of fire. You can use it. Yeah. So he was trying to say that's a burnt a fire. And we have a problem. So I'm always get pure water there. You have to put out a fire with Poland Spring. You put it up for a water. I've done what the Rayatz that word, that argument's a good argument, but only aid, you're pouring water on the fire. What happens if you're pouring another liquid like kerosene, for example, on the fire? But not only not putting out the fire, make the fire bigger. And this is a Zach we have verbringen, that we never them the good. Mesilas Nefesh means to connect to the Eibishter. Mesilas Nefesh means to understand that me and the Eibishter are one. Mesilas Nefesh means I can only find happiness when I do what the Eibishter wants. Mesilas Nefesh means that this is who I am. That's what Mesilas Nefesh means. Sometimes I can serve the Eibishter b'derech haseichel, but sometimes the Eibishter wants me to show that my connection with him like this, bila. My connection with him is l'maylam mekalak bolis. You know what happens when you show the Eibishter that your connection with him is l'maylam mekalak bolis, and you're talking, you're going under the soil. And you do the Eibishter wants beyond the hakbolas, beyond the limitations that you have, then the Eibishter takes away the limitations he put in the world of Teva. The Eibishter has no limitation, but the Eibishter put limitations in the world of Teva. And Yeshua means that the Eibishter changes Teva for you. And the Eibishter wants Avodah. The Eibishter wants us to cause that. So how we need a Yeshua. And we need to bring out the Eibishter soll lieber kommen und beiten Teva für uns. We need more Panos, we need Fuhr, we need Tzloch, whatever we need to do. So verkehrt. When we serve the Eibishter to Mesilas Nefesh, we go beyond the limitations, and then the Eibishter helps us beyond limitations also. So all Eiden sounds like good, but even there, they will hang. Beis Monticello is in the Bazar Dia Shabbat Hashem on the place in the Shari with the Shenu, the Kabul, Mispah, Vrechem, Kashuvim, Lil made the case of the Shenu, the Kale, the Shishi, the Chassidus. There's a Kale going on over here, Chavra. If you want to Chassidus, if you want to take the Yonah we spoke about and being on Panemius, every Thursday night from 10 o'clock to 11:30. And the limit you'll learn my mother will cut the Sefer Kututera from Adma Zokken, and everybody gets paid $40 a week for doing this. So everybody please call. Or whatever you're learning Torah. Okay? And you can call 347-352-7634, 347-352-7634. B'shana which have a wonderful program. And the States, Shlom says, Zak Keli Van Veyu. And the Keovi Van Eimenu. Heißt Schlockerlich. Zak Keli, mein Gott, Van Veyu Anibu. Du trickst, eine Sache. Wenn der Eberste bekommt, ja, Eberste hat geschlungen Teire, und dann stehen die Gas von beide, und Munde in der Primis, is Van Veyu best ein Tag Ebersten. And the Keovi. If you only keep the Eberste as a Keovi, as the Eberste von meinen Taten, if I remember about the heck from there, he's above you, no chance to your life. We have to learn to bring the English into our way we think and what we do. L'chaim.
Rubashkin, this is the speech and it's on the English. This is the speeches. You sit next to me. This day, Lucas over the mic. Speeches.
I want to tell you that myself say there's a and I'm hi everybody. I tell you, in the Meise, I work some in business, and people ask me what will you say to go to the whole game, okay? They didn't mean that. Men zeggen, and Meise is Hashem. So I got to tell you something. You know, we asked out of the soil and the pale. The big Yeshua. And by the Shad Anders, was specifically Muhammad Yeshua as at the point where there was no mamash, there was absolutely no way to get out of this terrible matzah, and everything Yeshua as that. You know what I'm saying? And this matzah, like a person can only I eat can love good game as I do that, and that can love. So when in the shot in 2004, when we had this business in the Beis in Iowa, is given our own file. This is a good thing to know. Whoever's listening over here, so there's an own file on the Beis Shlitter. The ganze Teilnis from the Peter Heber that we maximum website. But from the Heber that they try to take over the mitzvah shchita. In America is a beautiful country, and America allows shchita as a religious right, which means that the way shchita is done is totally in the hands of a rav. You have to have the reichkeit there. Not only shchita, the achon shchita. Anything around shchita, which is shchita is a mitzvah, shchita is a mitzvah. Tag mitzvah, shchita mitzvah. Shchita is not for Samar Chaim. Shchita is a mitzvah, and shachta behemel lift the gate. So, just the people, the first generation, I think it was Nathan's father, if I got it right. He was one of the most eingestellt and eingeschrieben as what shchita is in America, and that shchita is protected by religious rights. Now you know very well that in Europe they try to undo this in many countries, and when they came, so these guys, Yishoim came to agree. That time we had this big shchita, and they wanted, what do they want? They wanted to take away the balabatischkeit that the Rabbonim have on the mitzvah shchita and turn it over to others. So other people that understand what Havachai means, the profession. I'm drawing a parallel here. I have to explain to you what I see and what's going on. Because what I lived through in the world of shchita is happening right now, but before we talk about behaviors, not talking about our children ourselves. But all they wanted to do is move away. So how do you do it? How do you do it? Yeah, why would any Rav give away his right of being about the shchita? That's a mitzvah, yeah. Why would he give it away over to an animal rights person, to a professional? So have to have the idea because the Rav, every mitzvah is a Ratzon Hashem. Every mitzvah is a Ratzon Leibishter. Some mitzvahs are mishpatim, parts of mitzvah that comes down in seichel, you can understand. So usually when you try to explain shchita, you start explaining it that it's so sharp tonight, have it so fast, so that's how the chayim. Comes in at time. Oh, you want to know what's the chayim? We also know what's the chayim. So long the and let's do it so we both all could be happy. Yeah, and then. So that's what they wanted. They took a picture that was shchita. They lied how it would look like and what happens there, and then they came with a tiny make changes shchita that you should go through an audit, you should follow a certain procedure that we agree to, and if all agree to the procedure, is so we'll be happy and we'll stop bothering you. Yeah, and there were those people who were tiny. What's the problem? Yeah. Now, what's the fundamental problem? The fundamental problem is you're giving away you, and the Mitzvah to people who right now are willing, maybe, to meet you a certain way that you need, but once they give it away, tomorrow, they'll find that what you're doing is against the Moshe, electrocuting it, but you can't do anymore. There's a lot of the Kudus here that I understood very well. This is the reason why they came after me. One of the 2004 became a ganze Bechome, and I told them one Poshta Zach, Mitzvah Shchita is a mitzvah. It has nothing to do with Tabla Chaim. Yeah, if you want to see part of Mitzvah Shchita, that this type was masculine, but that's not the reason. Mitzvah Shchita, because the Eibush supposed to Mitzvah Shchita. And it belongs to us, and you have no right here, and get out of here. But it belongs to not me. I was a manager, my father was the owner. It belongs to Rabbanim, and Rabbanim are the rights. I wouldn't make any changes, and they became crazy. Baruch Hashem, I want that to work. It didn't, and all the change they wanted to make is Baruch Hashem help didn't hit till today. You don't have it, but you're in kosher meat because of this fight. Why am I saying this to you? Why am I bringing this up? Because the Zelda Zach is happening in the world of Chinuch. Chinuch was always in the hands of Talmid Chacham Rabbanim. How to raise a child was always in the hands of Mashpim, Rabbeim, Rosh Yeshivas. They're the ones who decided how to raise a child. For whatever reason, people today are willing to give over that part of Chinuch, certain parts of Chinuch, to others. And the danger is huge because it's not like whatever now you're giving up. Once you're giving up that you're not the boss and the Chinuch, who knows where this is going to? The ganze Gedank, as a kommt that they think the child should be taught in one way and to be taught this method and that method. You don't know, you're not even smart enough, maybe I'm smart enough to know what's lying behind there, where the effect is. But the bottom line is, whether this way or other way, I'm just trying to speak in very simple terms. Whatever I went through in the Mitzvah Shchita is happening right now in Mitzvah Chinuch. Mitzvah Chinuch, those people that are willing to give away that the certain area of Chinuch belongs to others. And you can never get it back. Once you give it up, you'll never get it back. I wrote a letter, 2004 November, it was Mother Shabbos, I wrote a letter. That's the reason why they came here. How did I become the only guy from the whole place? It was a big place. And a lot of friends, was they were after. But and I wouldn't give it up for anything. But this was the Nekuda. The Nekuda is, we are Yidden, we have a Teire. Teire, we just finished Pashas Chukas. Teire is the Eibish's Teire. The Eibish is Hecher von Seichel. The Eibish is Hecher von Verstand. The Eibish, the certain mitzvahs allow us to come down, we can verstehen. The certain mitzvahs, that will uns weisen, how come we left some mitzvahs a chukum? Because the Eibish wants to tell us the mitzvahs a chukkah. These chukkahs are Teire. This chukkahs are Teire. Not chukkahs are Porah. Because Teire is a chukkah. I verstehst, when you learn about Gemara, du redest rein zu verstehst, du verstehst, doch, the Eibish lost to verstehen. But what are you understanding? The Teire Shachash Baruch Hu understanding. That's the Nekuda. Shebachabon Kolam. Teire is Kodesh, Dai Kodesh. Hecher von Verstand. Die fangen wissen ja, was der Eibisch lost uns. Der Eibisch okay, Jochel lost Charab sein Rotzen, was der Hecher von Seichel lost Charab, wir können verstehen. Aber Teire, and in its Etzem, Chukas hat Teire. Teire is Chukka. Teire is Hecher von Verstand. And that's Mesiris Nefesh. Mesiris Nefesh is the point when the Eid says to the Eibisch that me and you are one, we don't change. Because the same thing, how do you begal the Etzem? When you serve the Eibisch the Etzem, du dienst dem Eibischen mit Spotim, habst du die Metze. Du musst dem Eibischen Dach mit Chukim. Du musst dem Eibischen Dach verhechten sich. Und so kommt rein a Goy, was will reingeben, ab Eitze in Chinuch, is get out of here. Was hast du mit mir? It's a big geschrei. I started a class. I tell Meister. There's a real special yid called the Pinchas Lipschitz. I don't get paid for this announcement, but my mom is in Spol, where he's even says Nefesh, and they all that he's like he has a paper or a TED, and it's gekommen. He found out ich mach Siddische, he gets a Litvische, and he gang him says Nefesh helpful Ayid. He saw the Torah, he saw the light, and reingegangen him den ganzen Tras helfen nach Ayid, and then he was right. One time, so afterwards, obviously, I'm very close. A lot of times after you get spread apart, Baruch we got closer. And we were together on a podcast. Somebody has a podcast, the Three was. And we both speaking on this podcast. Last year, this is my stay. Whatever, what do you call it? Huh? The Luft, yeah, the Luft is my sister. We got on the podcast, Isaiah from Zoom, and we gesund together in the head, get in Kopf. Anyways, so one of the guys called in, so ich sag meins, das sag seins, das sag gut, dann darf ich schnacken, ne? Sag Chayes. And then they give opportunity for other people to call in. You know, willing to find a way. That's how bring it. No, willing to find a way. That's not bad. So he calls it. Yeah, guys call in, and this particular podcast is hot as I mentioned was on and so I don't want to speak negative. So one of the guys called in, as I said to him, he has a problem. You have a Jewish problem, but you're trying to figure out negotiation way. He said, never going to work. I said, he understood what I said. He started laughing. So anyway, so what happened? After I come back home, and I get an email. Some person, a woman called, says she heard the podcast. She was very inspired, and she said, if she can speak. So, yeah, so called. Yes, so spoke. What she told me? He told me that she heard the podcast. She herself was going through many challenges in life, as everybody. This has a group of people. This is the middle of Corona. This is last year. Corona never started, never finished. This was the she heard about she has challenges in life. Her and her friends, they get together try to figure it out. He said, if you have money, you go to therapist. And if you have no money, you're stuck. So I was shocked. What do you mean you're stuck? So go to Rav. If you agree that Rav has the answer, guess I don't. So who's going to answer you? Nobody has time for you. Nobody has time for you. So I get a challenge. I challenge. So like a shift for women. She tells me she's from a different state, and she came to live in now. She's in Lebanon, and she feels totally disconnected from her years of school. Not that she's a free, but she can't take what she learned. Does that sound familiar? She can't take what she learned and bring it down the Pale Mamush. She can't relate to it. So I'm good. When we talk about Shiva, Weiber, I have a few Shiva men. No. You can't just learn from a book from a sefer. You learn from a book, you have to have a close cup. In the middle of an assignment, you can't sit in you have to come and you have to spell it out. Step 1, step 2, takeaways, giveaways, take away all the I know what she's talking about. And I don't know how I showed her, but the point is understand. And the mailer, you must have my heart is and ich will weisen ich have to share every question you have in life, you'll find an answer. Challenge me. So we have a share. So far, I'm ahead of the game. Hey. So I said, okay, good. So I started a series that says Heal the Heart with the Moon B'Dom. Heal the heart, not mental, because mental health assumes that your mental capacity, your seichel, is polluted. And if you learn Torah tells you that your teiv is in cup, which then goes down to your heart. So your cup is eikla. Your heart is in heart, and it goes to the cup. And so if you have to emotional problems in hearts, and stuff heal. So I named it Heal the Heart to Moon and B'Toch. And we started a series, and from there was one house. And so it comes every Monday night on my shir, one of the shir, and we learned. And then from there came another shir Wednesday, another shir Wednesday night, and then another shir Tuesday. So what are we learning over there? How do you take the inyonim from Moon and B'Toch? Take the mitzvah, take all these inyonim and put it together, and how you can overcome any challenge you have today. is explained in detail, not the derech, Gzeir Gozarti, Bekabel, Beseichel Mamisch mit der Gein, mit dem Verstand, lass sich dienen, lass sich verstehen. There's a Mahalach here. Taylor has answers for self-esteem. That's real, not answers Bob Mises that was Akarnatzvi. Real answers. Taylor has real answers. But how you get self-esteem to the how you get rid of your anxiety to the how you get rid of your depression to the trauma. I'm not talking about extreme cases. Yeah, I haven't have a chance to talk to people. Now the chance to talk to them. I will Shah beginnen. In Shah beginnen is dat een geweldige woord. I'd like to find it over there in Perikei. He says over there, a child will go through Mikri Machivim, Vichaloyim. What's the guy? Wacht brengen. Staat vlog. Speeches are better meisen. Better meisen. Okay, kom maar even. We daarvan zingen. Okay, wat was dat? Okay, a kind of doorgaan schwere Zeiten. Why? Because in order to teach the kid what the world really looks like. Yeah, that the world has bacteria, the world has Eitzahara, the world has things that can hurt him. And the child, everybody thinks if they have the perfect childhood, then what will the best say? Everybody, if they ride a bicycle, you jump on a bicycle, have the helmet, with the hand guard, the foot guard, the fish guard, the duck guard, the inner guard, before. They say, if you never got a bruise in your life, then you got a good life. So he says differently. He says that a child, not just ancient, a child who goes through illnesses. I'm not talking about curable illnesses, that's a whole different story. We'll go through, before Corona, people used to have children had children illness all the time. I don't remember. They had different colds, they had measles, today is only Corona. But he'll have Mikri Machivim and have a bully in the class. And have something happen to him which is painful. To teach him, find bacteria in the gut. And he schrijft in his special notes. So what you call trauma, I started out of bringing how a child that was in the 6 years in solitary confinement in his house, went in his house in solitary confinement, and didn't feel for shepherd. And another kid fell from his bicycle, and bruised his neck, you got to get to them. Zegt that it's verkeerd. The Eibishter wants to teach a child that in the world there is a bully. But we know why? Because the bully gets harder. You want to see van bacteria, van mensen, wat komen ze doen in wilde schrijven, hitzig. Because if not, he told me just a story that's night. A lady made sure that this child never, her mother kept the child protect in the house. And then they came. The kid never was around other kids. So he got colds, got sick. So I don't get sidetracked. The Kudu is as the Kudu is every problem you have in life, every challenge you have in life, every mental illness issue you have in life, laws dich herren, laws dich find in Teres Hashem Tamim Mashiras Nefesh. Tamim Mashiras Nefesh. You want to make a nefesh. You want to have a healthy nefesh. Teres Hashem Tamim. There's nothing that you can't find in Teres. You don't let. You think you go to a Rav, then your pastor, go to Taylor. It's much deeper than it. It's true. You don't tell it, but it's much deeper. So how come you're willing to listen, sit down half an hour to listen to somebody speak of all the seine Fantasies? Lass dich lernen. So kommt zu andere Sachen, goische Sachen, hab Zeit, was krieg. Ja, doch, Blattler, ja, sagt, ja. Und dann kommt der Rav, sagt, he gets angry, he's speaking too long. We're trying to explain something. Trying to talk to teach you something. Lass dich verden. And then if you don't like it, then sit back. I'm not saying Kabbalah like. Lass dich herren. Lass dich. Akopon l'chaim. But I want to tell you something. Baruch Hashem, Segeit Agang, and many people are feeling Baruch Hashem big things from this. And then tell I came out with the shield Wednesday, and I was on the phone. Somebody called my phone, and the guy comes out of a house over there. So he wants to talk to me. So I said, 1 second, he's on the phone. I want to talk to you. I just want to say thank you. My wife comes to Yeshua every Wednesday, and it's angebracht as Shlom Menucha in Stub. I said, thank you. That's it. That's it. Bye. That's it. Teire is Emes. Meish Emes Rosh Emes. L'chaim l'chaim. You don't have to be careful to say it. I want to bring down your Weisen. I said, first of all, if I was listening over here, also on the Anash.org, we have a Spanish here, in Monticello, New York, and he has a mikveh open all year round, has a yeshiva open all year round, and he left him up for $1. The Kesef, the Hashem Tzvokis, but we have people shluchim to send a few bucks, not a few, a lot of bucks. The help of Shana was right the Mamsa and Beis HaKedish. It took great Sachen there. We went to Sodom, in a place of a mikveh kosher there, mikveh tare, a cheder there. They have to help them, but Masliach signs up, we give help from them, but that help them. So that's the kudah. So, but getting back to Fabrengen, that Mesiras Nefesh, that the Rebbe Yatz is teaching us, who kommt us? Our mensch is Seichel, our mensch is Midas. Mesiras Nefesh, if you know that every neshama has 5 parts: Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chai, Chida. If you do these things, meestal mered doch welche Sachen. Was hat zu tun mit mir? Who cares about it? I want to show you how, if you understand, if you learn, you understand that you have 5 parts. You have Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chai, Chida. Very basic. Okay, and the Yichidesh of the Nefesh is the part of the Neshama that's always connected to Eibush no matter what. The Yichidesh Yachdach, that means that's a part of the Neshama that is Me'ira Yid to the Tshuva, Kumt Yom Kippur, is 5, you have 5 tzilas. Why have 5 tzilas in Kippur? Because we go with the ladder. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaychid, not all, every tefillah has 5 chalak in them, because the Yom Kippur, we reach the highest level of our connection with the Eibishter from Dortmund. It will take a pale kapora, because the Eibishter's Rachem, the Ava to us, is revealed in Yom Kippur, and I feel that Yid of Gezindikt is the Eibishter Mechapel. They need to lose it. Yeah? So, if you want to be Me'eri Yechidish, if you want you're in a situation, in a place called prison, almost, and you have a exact 47 minutes place in Yechidah, and you feel very, very confined. You feel very broken. Reingefallen as that Platz, how to get out of here. If you know there's a part of you that's not in prison. The part of you, Yechidah, is not in prison. There's Nefesh, the Guf is part in prison. So therefore, you know, when a guy's in prison, he can't get out of prison. A mensch is in prison, the muss haben andere. So my story. You had 5. You have many Askolim that got into it. Had 5 Eden, Rebbe Schwartz, and a lot of Satmar Chassidim came together und mir geholfen, reingefahren von der ganzen Sache, to deploy. Da habe ich so Schulter, zum Mensch habe ich so und gepellt gehst die Schuhe. Ja, ich gebe. Ich sage, ich gebe alle ein Sache. How does it help us in our daily lives? Yeah. A Mensch kann schon get thrown into the twister. The pale begashim is physically, he is in prison. But if he knows, there's a Shlom is not in prison. Right? That's what I always said, I'm in a place called prison. I wanted to always remind myself, I am in the Neshama. Who am I? Who's my Messias? Ich bin Ayid. Ayid b'chan Neshama. And my Neshama is not in prison. I go to prison. I go to the but that's the way in prison go for. I can feel chaydas. My son told me, it's not that it's not that you got freed. You got freed that after 8 years they should free you. Every day you're in prison, Baruch Hashem, you had that feeling of chaydas, right? Why? Because beside the neshama, bestaka in prison. How do you take this thing you learn and bring it down the pale? A person goes through a massive. Als ik ga met Yitzhahara, als ik ga met Anaveda, het reingefallen. And they sort of got him, and then the prison of Yitzhahara with the Gilus, maybe the person got involved with something which he feels trapped. He feels he got trapped. How can I free myself from this muscle? I never believe myself to fall to do something like this. And look, I got fooled into this muscle. And how do I free myself? So if a person feels that he's totally involved and he totally fell into the problem, someone abused him. Like an extreme case. Somebody abused a child. And the child feels verschmettert. Yeah. So mitzvah sein nefesh, she learned, if it says himself, it says a nefesh that's in the goof, or maybe ruch in the shoma, that shachs the goof, he got contaminated. He got as who you learned on Aveda, he got abused, and he feels it's a fachepet. But if you would know there's a part of him that never got fachepet to Aveda, he has yichidah. He has a part of him that never was affected by this event that happened, either willingly or unwillingly, so this, if you say is a part of him that actually is free. The same way you do para Aveda. You do not Aveda. How do you free to do tshuva? Because the part of it that's never involved with Aveda. So if a person attack a chapsa has a high attack, yenet mir fachepet. When yenet mir have all these things was yenet mir getan. But there is a part of me, not that we could think about this and do about this. The pale mamish. Taylor teaches us we have a chelik from the shoma that never came down, never got involved with the whole thing. There's a part of that's free. So connect to that part, live with that part of the neshama that's higher than what's down here, and you'll be able to free yourself from the whole lot. It's not like you have to live there. You'll be able. That's like chiropractic. Chiropractic takes a person and takes the energy that he has in his brain and he adjusts his spine so it can flow into his body. When we do a mitzvah and we do the serve the Eibishter more than you want to serve the Eibishter. How do you serve the Eibishter more than you want to? Because there's a keach or yichida that's higher than all that bullets of you, and you can bring it down the pale. So you do that, mitamol, you're energized, and you feel better. You cleanse yourself. I was a place called prison, and if I 1 second thought that I am in prison again, the prison has a film of it. Aber der Gedanke hat mir auch begriffen. I eat this in prison. Because there's a neshama left in prison. So maybe it's good for the prison. So how does he pull himself above? By tying himself up l'mayla to his part that is not in prison. Through how? Through doing Torah mitzvahs. With a chayis davren, l'mayla. So that's how he's able to feel in prison, not in prison. I never took a drug. Maybe the first few weeks they told me that I have to take these pills. So I told my kid I won't take them. I have to sign a paper. There's the lines over there. People take drugs every day. How do you go through a matzav that give you drugs? Because I was able to connect. Any Eid was able. Now take the same thing. There was an Eid, for example, there. I was very in tune to this because I had a lot of time to think like that. So I was watching other people. Goyim have Eid. There's a guy over there. He told me himself before he got thrown into prison. He's Chol Yisrael only. And then before he had matzah, they picked on him, whatever they got to it, and they gave him a judge as a case of if he pleads guilty, so he was not guilty too, but if he pled guilty, he'll give him only 3 years. 3 years, 3 long years, 3 Dodomis, the father's not on the table, 3 Rosh Hashanah, the father's not taking the kid to shul, 150 Shabbosim, the father's not home. Says, Sarah Sururis. This poor guy is in there. But the Rav told him to make it easier. Can I ask him how to guess D, DE, DBB? How to guess? I had the first guess. And then, do you think made him happier? He wasn't happy. I watched this. I must have even told him because he used to go jogging. Exercise. Yeah. So I had a hot day. He made all the tzitzis were flying off because it's too hot. Late on tzitzis. Yeah. Wie sie umkommen dort? Hij zich reingelegt in prison. He didn't pick up van een geschmack meester van wees der mail met verstaan. En met zulke bonden even van beschuldigd. Wees de meester. En met zulke bonden de mail te verstaan. Used to go to the mikveh every single day. Versteht zich alleen. The mikveh of those days was the river. Used to go down the mountain. The river. So people spoke of sitkes of mail because he used to go down in the winter time. It was slippery. And he wouldn't slip or fall. He would walk down the steep path down to the river, again, mikveh, and that didn't fall. So two Leitzim wanted to prove that he's not, that's talking about Kedusha or Maisa, that's the Kedusha. Yeah, anybody can do it, and they wanted to show they can do it also. So they went down this path, and they tripped, and they fell, they slid, and they fell, and they broke their hands and feet, and they're laying in bed as they, healing, and they both chapsach, they were begay, because the tzaddik, the male, so they got punished. So they did tshuva, and they healed them. They thought to themselves, they're going to go ask the male bechila. They go off, they became healed. They go to the male, they ask him bechila. So you tell them, we know we made fun of you, we made a mistake, and the rest bechila. So you must. But then they asked him, well, tell us, how do you do it? It's the El Tarayid. Can't forget. Yes, I say, we're young guys, when we're young and we slipped and fell. Have you guys to? So he said to him, has the Chayim, I'm a zugebunden eben, falten a Mädel, so come, but I'm not going to say, so folks of Mädel, zugebunden eben, falten nicht. Right? So I got when you're zugebunden eben, when you connect yourself with your Chiddush, we go through a hard time in life. But today, when we're saying this, we're being bounced around here and there. We can't understand things happening. In the world of Seichel, there's a lot of challenges. How do you overcome those challenges? You have two ways. You can get into the fight, you can fight it out, or you can say, I'm going to pick myself up. Ich bin the kecher. I'll take the kechas of myself. That's what I'm trying to show to you. That when you see yourself, it explains who you are. You have your chiddush of nefesh. You have your chiddush. It's always everything. So if you live your chiddush, what means you learn how to do mitzvahs. You live like a yid, and even those times you don't feel like it. I don't want to get up now, and I don't want to be mechel that guy. The guy that gave me the and I don't want it. And you go do the wants. You go beyond your agbolas. You see, where you got the kechas from your nefesh, which is higher than seichel. So then, what do you? I'm a tzugabun neitim. That's the good. So I want to bring out the point that you go through prison, and not how do you go through a place called prison. This guy like that, he thought he'll get himself going through prison. And he'll eat all the chocolate cookies they sell in the thing. He'll eat the ice cream they sell, and if he has to go jogging, and the sixes go flying off. Was he happier? Never forget. He was mamish. There's another guy there. He tells me I have every spice. He used to pay the workers in the kitchen, and they smuggle them out spices like coriander. In the commissary they sold salt and pepper for the purpose of the Eder. So he used to pay to bring out all the different spices they put into the food. Was he happy? Yeah. Because he was trying to live in the prison. When you're trying to live in the Gashmizik world controls you. It limits you. It chaps you around. The way you can overcome it, if you have to pick yourself up. This is what you get on this. You know, in Torah, I'll tell you this one more story, and I'll sing a few more songs. I had a yeshiva in Postal. So we had the cheder. We started a whole community. 100 families were living there. 120 families were when the raid happened. So in order to get people to live there, you had to have a cheder there. You had to have not just a business. You had to have a mikvahs and mikvahs noshim, anoshim. So at yeshiva, the 30 boys came. There were no 30 boys in Postal. So I invited boys from other places to come, and they came. Everybody, all the yeshivas, they came. Everybody paid whatever they can afford. And Baruch Hashem was a very nice yeshiva. One day there was a bacher there. One day after Shabbos I was davening, and I saw there was a redel, there's a bunch of boys talking. I was then in the world of business. I wasn't talking about this thing I'm talking tonight. But I see that the boys are kochmas. You see bacher a redel. A redel is a guy. What happened? There's one guy, he was that kind of a genius of a boy, that like that I know he's today. At that point in time, a genius of a boy, a good boy. And he got angry one day, and he got a computer printout. He hung up a sign. Why be normal? And he put it up in his dormitory room. Why be normal? Okay? A sign. Teachers were trying to teach kids to be. They don't appreciate such a sign. Why be normal? Because a teacher always argues to the child, "Sei normal." My father was Shlom. I said from time to time, more often than not, can I get wild. In fact, I say normal. I always wondered, was I normal? I'm not normal. Was I normal? Why do you think I'm not normal? He said, don't be wild. What's that normal? So I was wondering what this normal thing is. And I have to give this gang. And this came to use. So this boy, this yeshiva boy, is in yeshiva, and Egbert, he's learning Gemara, and he's a good boy, I go to pop. But he's, why we know, so the Chaverim are trying to convince him, what are you talking about? Be normal. Hey, you're normal, so everybody in society will accept you. Be normal because your parents will be happy. That's true stuff. But he's a fakir. I don't want to be like anybody else. It was ein wie ich will sein. Yeah? Why be normal? That's right there. So I'm diving over here. I can hold myself back. So I go over to the guys and I tell them, listen, guys, before you tell me why be normal, I want to ask you first how you define the word normal. If you find the word normal as being like everybody else, but it can't be that. Well, so I gave him emotional. You go home and you ask your father and mother, your father, whatever, you want to drive a car. Those kids were in the cars, 16, 17 years old already in the cars. So Tati, give me the keys to the car. I want to drive. Tati, he says, good, not the keys to the car, but do me a favor, drive the car normal. That's what I said. What is your father trying to tell you drive car normally? What is normally? And I said, what's about the name? So legally, what is normal? Yeah? Because I tell you what it means. It means drive the car the way it was designed to be driven. Then it won't break. Young guys like to get into the car, myself, I was into a car from Avis, Hertz, whatever, and you want to rise up a bit from the sugar. So you're supposed to get into the car, turn the car around, most of the key, turn the key, and then you're supposed to put the foot on the gas and the foot to drive. We put the foot on the brake and the drive. We put the foot on the gas and revved up the engine, and then it took the shift stick and jammed into drive, and the car says, yeah, the ganze Kechers, screeching tires, yeah. Ever try it? And you can't do it today with the tires, buttons, it doesn't work. What is that you can do it? So that's not normal. Why? Because the car wasn't designed to drive a car like that. You'll lose the transmission. What you're doing is you're getting a moment of satisfaction, of happiness, but you break your transmission. Normal beings be who you are. When your teacher's telling you be normal, it doesn't mean be like somebody else. The Eibush that designed this, the Eibush gave us on the Neshama. If you want to be happy, be normal. Be normal, be who you are. If you do take the mitzvahs, the mice with the ice cream. The kid said, we have to be normal. We have to do normal. Be what we are, but we are eating, and we show our Yiddishkeit. We show the way we're really connected to the Eibush, who's higher than Teva. That's the word. How do we show? When do we get to show that we believe the Eibush is higher than Teva? When the Eibush presents us on the soil. That's the whole mindset. Nice, I bring it. The Rayatz was a ball in the soil. And he showed that the way you go through the soil is to not reject all sorts of worldliness. The world doesn't exist. What exists? Eibush. And then the world doesn't disappear. Then the world works in a way that you can be happy in the world also. That's the way. So if you want the world to change, use the moment the Eibush gives you in Avodas Hashem to show that you and the Eibush are connected to Meilam B'derech HaTeva. If you can worship the Eibush B'derech HaTeva, you stand the free, you can daven, so that was Shem Seichel, best maybe Shem Fahren again. But when you get a chance to show the Eibush that you're Meilam B'derech HaTeva, we have in the soil, you overcome it. L'chaim, they shall all grace Yeshua's. Okay, now we're singing songs, tell you about to sleep.
Ja,
And erst einmal sind wir reingeworfen in eine Fast History, and is das gewesen in the Bukai was a jail. It wasn't the federal, was the county. Und dort the highest. Erst alle Wochen nach Hassan. Okay. Is there Friday, they came Friday morning, invested with me, eingeworfen. Ich bin ein größer Helm, and mit dem reingeworfen in a place in the Buke. And ich slept mal rein dort. Versteht sich, mit dem Wolfen. Und mir kommt rein dort ein Mensch und sagt mir, what do you need to be Jewish? I gewesen. He was a guy, either meistens mit dem Handicap, so so I have to think first. What I tell them now, I get. If I don't tell them, again. So practically, erste Sache, I have to wear my yarmulkes. As a myself. Then I need my tassels for him, and I have to have a place to daven. So he didn't want me davening between the goyim. He gave me a separate place to daven. It worked out amazing because they used to take me to the daven Shabbos. How do I have to daven for? 45 minutes an hour. I realized they throw me in there. They would throw me in there. They didn't really care how long I stayed there. Shabbos morning, they throw me in there. They say 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Yeah. I stayed there till 12 o'clock. We sat daven, gesungen, gesprungen. It was amazing. We had a ganze, als Josje, ik begrijp het wel zeg. And then when I had to leave, I told him again. I said, what's going to do? And then I told him, I need to have a tzitzis davening. So I started kosher food. Not monkey kosher. I mean, I got some elf kosher. So he brought me different hashgachas. I need to have a real hashgachas. And I need to have. And then he tells me, and then I need to have vasta fanagos. Yeah. So I need to have a quart, I need to have a taplaza, and I have to have, over this, I need a thing for me. I gotta tell you, this crazy place, I guess it was on a side note, place I didn't go, yeah? I never saw Goyim get up in the morning. They said, who's this Goyim? You ever see Goyim get up in the morning? I never saw in my life. Here, I'm with the Goyim now. I eat. They get up, the guy comes, they hit the wagon. I get up at like 7, 6 o'clock, wash the hand, Medani, Brachas, Kishma. And then these guys are chropping. There's like 6 guys over there. And then they hear the food cart coming. And the food cart, boom. I say the behemoth, boom, out of bed. You laughing, nicht Medani, nicht Wasser, nicht Brachas. You run to the window, get the food. Boom, 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 no bracha. I was stand there and amazing. And mama, yeah. Mama, what difference is it? What difference is it? Oh, you guys, they were there. And boom, back into bed. The guy tells me that he the worst time of the day is in the morning. He can't get up in the morning because he gets up. This was a judge. He was a judge. So he used to stay up late at night. He used to get up at 11 o'clock, but they gave food at 7 in the morning. You get up, boom, gas, back. Anyways, so I won't forget the guy's look on his face. He tells me, water, you have water in the bathroom. In that prison, they had the water, like they had a bathroom and a shower. I said, I can't take water from our bed. I need water, that's not in the bed. Of course, yeah. I guess the water from Negelwasser has to be water not from the bathroom, because the bathroom is coming. So he looks at me, I can't forget to look at this guy's a federal prisoner. He's facing 27 years in prison, and a guy gets taking water from the bathroom. That's the look he gave me. But I looked him back in the eyes and I said, I need it. So I gave it to him. So how do you do it? Every day she says, I don't want you to eat in front of I don't want you to eat in front of you. By eating, he took me out to eat in a different room. And then for davening, he took me also to a different room. And before we got there, so the food came from a kosher place, and the kosher place would send food in like a container. Like, 2-pound containers, like you have for coleslaw, some of the round containers, like that. So I used that as a tapu and the water. So they brought me. So in the morning, 6. I got up always early, 6 o'clock in the morning. I jumped out of bed, and I whatever I did over there. And then I watched these guys jumping out of bed, and then they took to go down. Before davening, I went to this room. I forgot Negelwasser, but I never knew where I would have more good, clean water. So I kept always. The Goyim always saw me carrying a Wasser, and they brought me to the room. So they realized this Jew needs water and said, why am I telling the story? Look how this thing works out. So why they keep me there? They kept me there. They didn't want to give me bail because they said I'm not really an American citizen. They said I'm a dual citizen. The Rishis HaGoyim is amazing. I'm sitting in court. I figured they give me bail. I have to sign this. They gave me court, not guilty. No, Your Honor, Your Honor. Your Honor. This guy is a Jew. They're very, very precocious people. They realize I'm Jewish. And the Jew can go to Israel. And Israel, they can get Israeli citizenship. So Mamela, if we can't have an Israeli citizen, is Mamela, yes, I feel ain't care Chosapel. Mamela is so Mamela, yes, even though I didn't go to Israel, I didn't get a citizen. So now because we could go, and you could get. So right now is de facto dual citizen. And Mamela, you can't give him bail. I'm not even American anymore. This was amazing stuff. Anyways, so I'm in this place because of this massive. And Baruch Hashem, I am serving the Eivishter with this. But the family, everybody's fighting to get bail. So it takes time. So they're trying to get the other judge to overturn the first ruling that I am a dual citizen. So they made the hearing. They made the hearing. It came out to be Aleph Beis Gimel Shvat. It's an amazing story. At 2 times, my nest was Aleph Beis Gimel. Aleph Shvat, they stopped me to the court, and I had a hearing. And Beis Shvat, they told me I'm getting bail, and Gimel Shvat I got. So why am I telling you the story? Finally, after 70 days, 2.5 months of being in this Shultner prison, for no other reason that I'm a Yid, I can go to Israel. So they're having a hearing. So Monday morning, okay. So I went. So in the morning, I wanted to daven before I go speak to a human judge for my tightness. I wanted to daven before to the Eivish, the real judge. Chavre, I always tell people before you go to work, movement davening. I was also moving the business. And I'm over at a business matzav, and you want to get up in the morning, you arrive at the business, daven speter. Daven, the years that I davened always before I did any work was almost 100 years. Fact. So I figured I have to daven before I go see the judge. But the problem is davening the winter time. So the sunrise is like 7:15, whatever it is, and they're taking me out 6:30 to drive me an hour to get to the judge house. So how am I going to do this? So they told me you'll daven there. So they make me I get up in the morning. Instead of going to daven, they take me into a van. They handcuff me, put me on this sugar and orange clothes, and they put me in a van with other wonderful people. And somebody told me that you say capital Tzadik Aleph. Tzadik Aleph times. Just that's as good for having a stock in the court case. I did it. I sat in the back of the van and started listening to all these Meshugoyim talking, the wonderful chokhmah that they have to talk. I said, I said 91 times. It takes time. Yeah. And it took me an hour and a half until I got there. By the time I get there, the sun's coming up. I noticed that the two guards, one guy's driving, and one officer, she's holding my talis bag and my bottle of water. Geslachen. Yeah, because they verstehen gar nicht. Sie sind einfach geben Wasser. Man muss aber talis bag with Wasser. Good. I already get snuggled Wasser anyways. I don't know what they want to, but so here's the Abish that plays this whole thing out. They get out over there in Cedar Rapids. I get out, and they come out of the building, and this lady who's carrying my talis bag, and the water goes over to the guard, the Shemer Adelis, and tells him there's a guy over here. He needs to have a room to pray before he has an 8:30 hearing. Before the hearing, he has to pray. What are you talking about? I never heard of something like that. I never heard something like that before in my life. No. This is clear. He was drunk. I'm telling you guys. I spoke to him later. He had some mashke coming out of his breath. Anyway, I follow him. He opens the door. He opens the door to a room. And the room, I knew the room from before. The room had two cages in there. 2 cages. And they must have put me on the cages at that one. Because they're not allowed to open the what's the problem? The cage has a toilet in there with chemicals that are stinking like massive. So I told him, no, I can't go in the prayer over there. He starts screaming at me, what are you talking to me? You're telling me what to do? You're a prisoner. Am I to tell you what to do? I said, I'm not telling you what to do. I said, I just came down. Anyways, Mita Mol, this lady who's holding my talis bag in the water says, no, you don't understand. He's like shocked. She became a lawyer. He can't pray there. I'm telling you, he can't pray there because he can't pray there. He can't even take water from the place to the What's the other mice? Yes. You gotta look at this guy's face. He didn't know what's going on. Usually the guards work together. Here, she became my lawyer and explains that you can't. So he's like, I got lost. He says, okay, come here. He opens another door. It's a room over there we're fixing. Okay, you pray over here. No better than there. I put on film. They're not allowed to, so you can bounce, you got nervous. They're not allowed to take off handcuffs in a room that's not. Anyway, he took off the handcuffs. Gedaven, Musaf, gang in hearing, first day, second day, Aleph and Beis, and Gimel, Beis, and they told me that I got a real mess. They told me I'm getting bail and I'm going home. I was able to be home another 8 months until the trial took place. What am I telling you the story? Samazing. What's the first thing of the Nesa till now? When you live with your neshama, kedusha, neshama is kedusha, and you bring kedusha into your life. You say that not good. You said you see only the world works for you. That I understand how it's going to work out. No, I just can't tell you. But it's perfect. Looking back, yeah. Who would know that I was able to daven with this? Because this will help me being able to daven like a yid and daven, they should help him. I got my fail. We have to know who we are. If we say Mesiras Nefesh, I heard this real conversation I coached on them. I remember I was a young kid in Borough Park. And in those days, America was fighting a war in Vietnam. Who remembers this? Nobody. In Vietnam, they're fighting a war. And next to Vietnam, Shchenim was a country called Cambodia and a country called Laos and Thailand. Over the answer is massive. And the Cambodia, they were very, very whatever fake news tells you, it's not shameless, whatever they told you. For the Pale, they gave a news report that there was 10 of how many monks, Goyisha, monks, you know, a monk is a monkey, a monk. And they wanted to show that they're being stripped of their religious rights. So they took gasoline, they poured it on themselves, and they put on fire and they killed themselves. Remember that?
I remember seeing.
Okay.
I was alive.
I was alive then. And I remember in shul, listen to this. I remember in shul, in Borough Park over here, in 46th Street, I was a little kid in the 60s, it's happening, yeah? And there's a whole tumult. There was a Holocaust survivor, and he was spoiled. We always said the Mesiras Nefesh belongs Dafka to Yidden. We come to us as these monkeys showed the infamous Mesiras Nefesh. There was in the Yiddish Welt there was a tumult. So the obvious answer that people say, oh, they have Mesiras Nefesh for stupidity, Mesiras Nefesh stuff. So I remember this war survivor in shul that was saying things that were not really, as a kid, I realized this guy's not really talking with a full basis. And then I was able to hear a husband from Yelkan. So he was masber like this. It's masber that when you say the word Mesiras Nefesh, yeah, was it Mesiras Nefesh of a Yid and Mesiras Nefesh, which number says that we see a guy blow himself up to kill other people because he's going to go into the other world and have whatever he has, rivers of wine, whatever they promise him. That's not Mesiras Nefesh. He explained like this. He said that by a person has value. A bunch of titles nothing busy. You have a dollar. Today's nothing. I'm more excited $1 or something. $1 is a valuable thing. $10 more valuable. You want to buy a Coke? You only give $2 for a Coke. You're not give $10 for a Coke. $100. Because you'll trade the value for something in value. If you have $1,000, you'll buy something of value. You'll trade it for $1,000, some other value. If you have $100,000, you'll trade in the valuable thing you have for some other valuable you have. Yeah, as they write, there's one thing a person has that's so valuable he'll never trade it, and that's his life. Because if he gives up his life for something else, he's a Ushmensch. He said he'll never say he'll kill himself for a Coke, for a house, because if he's dead, right? But sometimes, by a person, he has a political thing, he has a belief. It's so important to him that he's willing to trade off what to him is most valuable in life to prove a point, to prove he can't live without it, to prove that he can get. It's not Mesiras Nefesh. He's trading. He's trading a most valuable thing he has in life, which is his life. He's trading it for something he perceives to be more valuable. His political idea, his afterlife, and the other side is a river of wine and whatever they say they're going to get to. So that's not Mesiras Nefesh. He's not giving up his life. He's buying something. Get up it. Yeah, you have $100,000. It's not yeah. He has more important things in life. You show me something that's really important to me, I'll give you that also. It's not Mesiras Nefesh. But when a guy says he's going to kill himself, whatever they say, yeah. In order to get what he's doing is he's giving up what he has for something else. That's not Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh is we tell Yid, listen. When a guy says he's willing to kill himself for his belief, what are you saying? He's giving up something for something else. He's trading. He's a businessman. A guy comes to Yid and says to the Yid, bow down to Avodah Zarah. If not, I'm going to kill you. What does he say? I don't want to die. I want to live. I want to live to serve the Eibishter. He's not trading anything. He wants to live. Sagt ihm der Gott, you want to live? Ist bald dann. Das kann ich. Das ist die Chilische von Nefesh. Ich kann nicht tun am Meise, was mit Abreißen von dem Eibishter. I can't do something was will cut me away from the Eibishter. That's what it's screaming. He's not screaming, I want to trade something for something else. That's Mesilas Nefesh. I get up to hand. Ich kann nicht. They told me take off your Yamakan. I can't. This word, I told you, Bill. A lot of people in yeshiva they tell me take your Yamakan and walk. I said I can't. Because I realized that they want to change me, they want to take away my. I wasn't trying to buy etwas schools. I'm not going or it's help. That's the That's the when these monks put oil on themselves and they put on fire, they wanted to prove that they're exchanging that their belief for something greater, whatever they're doing. When I eat this, we said, I can't do something that's going to be separate from the Eibishter. Andere Sache. Mesilas Rotzen means, mein Rotzen, was ich will, was the Eibishter will. Ich will Ta'am Mitzvah. That's my Rotzen, what Eibishter wants. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about over here tonight. Mesilas Nefesh doesn't mean Dafke killing yourself. Mesilas Nefesh doesn't mean destroying. Even given my Rotzen, what's will ich? He will Eibishter. It doesn't make a difference if it means putting on film. Doesn't make a difference if you put on Hamilton. Doesn't make a difference if you buying that of it. Any Rotzen. They wish to want the Rotzen. That's what I want. Why? Because when you have Mesilas Nefesh, means you will have to maybe help the Eibishter zugebunden. Every time that I had a matzah where I was fighting or something, and I got it, it was never a feeling of my grace to give it. Verkehrt. I felt just so I want to do what the Eibishter wants. I'm zugebunden. The Eibishter me geholfen. I got it. Zarai, the Eibishter loves me. That was the word. This is Yiddishkeit. Mesilas Nefesh is Yiddishkeit. Nicht sterben. Leben Mesilas Nefesh. Ich begebe den Rotzen zum Eibishter. Ich will, was der Eibishter will.
Something more, the other category that they get das haben gemacht, als Postbier, weil das noch zu schnell von der Richtung knapp über 1000 keine Dinge so das steht mit der das ist mit der Natur nicht zu nicht kann da verstehen das mir brennt Die Woche so kommen dort sein.
Tell us a story. I don't know if the story is embellished a little bit, so I'm not trying to give exactly. And else has to do with something that he said earlier. So the story was, I don't know exactly, they were going in the street and the time something happened and they had to take a certain amount of people in prison. So just what happened to me, they took over the prison. Together with a whole bunch of other people. Whatever the story is, I don't know, but they took them in prison. So the position of rebel is here in prison, together with a whole bunch of other people. They're sitting there in prison. And when I went to prison, there was, in the room, there was a toilet. Everyone's sitting around. And they're sitting for a while. Whatever it is, they know what they're doing. It doesn't matter. They need a bunch of people to go to prison because something happened. And
What are you saying?
no, tell me the story. We should invite us.
The guy says, L'chaim everybody, L'chaim everybody, L'chaim Shal Hoffman, that was his nefesh.
Amen.
Simcha.
Amen. So one of the brothers told the other one, I tell the story of Zush over the mouth. I don't know if it's true or not. One of the brothers told the other ones, he says, wherever you are, if you go to the Shlom. Yeah, we're sitting in the toilet like one of us. You can't daven, you can't even think. Anything much of this. It's time to waste time. There's nothing worse than that. What's going on? How are we supposed to very upset? So every second is chashut, and to sit there just stand like that and not do anything in Beis Hashem. He's upset. He tells his brother, what should I do? His brother tells him, Tammuz, says, the same editor that says that you have to use every second and you have to daven, you have to learn, you have to obey Hashem. The same editor that says that when you're sitting in Beis Hashem, you're not allowed to, right? The same mitzvah that you have, in by davening and learning, now you have the same mitzvah by not davening. Says, how often do you have it that you can not daven and not learn and do obey Hashem? How often does it come to you? Hardly ever. Because now you have an opportunity. You're going to sit here in the toilet, and near the toilet, you're not going to daven, you're not going to learn. And that's what the Eibishter wants to do. There's nothing better than he wants to do. When you were speaking earlier in the beginning, when you're saying that, that quote came to us, telling you, it's not that it's by mistake, it's on purpose. There's a reason. So he thinks about it, he says, get out. He turns to his brother, he says, how often do I have mitzvah? You have to do b'simcha. How often do I have such a mitzvah? So the two brothers get up, the dance. The goyim have nothing to do anyway. They see two tzaddikim standing there, they're dancing, and dancing taka b'simcha. What are you going to do? So they get up also, they dance. The dance comes a whole big circle, everyone's dancing. What are you dancing? The toilet. The toilet. So the toilet's in the middle of the room, a whole big circle, everyone's dancing around. The guard hears it's a tumult. It can't be a tumult, what's going on? So he runs downstairs, he says, what's going on? Everyone's dancing. He says, what are you dancing for? The toilet. Are you crazy? You're dancing for a toilet? So he goes inside, takes the toilet, takes out the toilet. Takes out the toilet. Okay.
I'll give them.
Oh, yeah. So you can sit down. Now you could learn, you could daven. Because it's not normal tanzen. Just come in there. So the word is your word that you saying earlier. Right? It's not taicha by mistake. There's a purpose. There's a purpose to sit into Avodah Hashem with the toilet, without it. Each way is Avodah Hashem.
That's all we see.
Yeah. I'm